Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Risen Dominate Season 14, the first official week of this year's spring season. My name is Drake. I'm joined by Quacks, and we're here to bring you the game between Pentaflex and Xora Esports, two brand new teams to this tournament. Quacks, how you feeling on this fine day?
Really good. It's Super Bowl Sunday, a little bit of a pre-show warm-up for many of the people watching here today, before that game goes on. And hopefully the competition is just as fierce here in the Risen Dominate League as it's going to be later on the field when you all get your snacks, get your wings, get your soda, popcorn, whatever it is that you enjoy eating and drinking when watching actual IRL sports. But for now, we will be settling for the computer game here. And yeah, it is going to be Pentaflex against Xora Esports, two teams like you mentioned, Matt. Like you mentioned, Drake, that are brand new to the Dominate League and who have, doing a little bit of research on the team's really competent squads. I think that both of these teams have a lot to prove, obviously being new, but I think that the players as well are really high in terms of ranking. This is a D1 capped league with one exception. Both of these teams actually have an exception player. So I think that that really kind of emphasizes their desire to compete, really be at the highest level because they have players quite literally at the highest level you can have at Dominate.
Yeah, and those players being Raincloud for Pentaflex and Banana Bread for Xora Esports. Banana Bread is a support player. Rainclouds is top laner for Pentaflex. Which player do you feel like is going to have more of an impact in this game? Obviously, it's more of a is support more impactful or top lane more impactful? So I guess probably support in my opinion, but I was curious what you were thinking.
Yeah, I mean, we're in season 14 now, right? I mean, this is a brand new season. This is the first Dominate game with, all of the changes that have been gracing us for a little bit over a month now. And so I think it's going to be interesting how both roles respond to the changes. Obviously, top laners have a little bit more agency around fights with those grubs being added, and supports most of the time you're asking, especially dependent on comp, for your support to roam up if you want to play a grub heavy playstyle. If you really want to knock down those turret plates, really get that touch of the void buff early on, you want champions like the Rakan, like the Bard, champions that really don't mind leaving lane in order to make an impact elsewhere. And I think for top laners, it's going to be kind of a one or the other scenario. You usually either rotate toward the grubs or you don't. You have champions like Jax who love having the grub buff, but then you have champions like Malphite, Scion, or well, not Scion actually, Malphite, Cassante, who don't necessarily care about it nearly as much. So I think that the role and its impact is going to be dependent on the comp and what the teams want to play for in this new season and this new meta.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, that when you're thinking about that and when you're thinking about comps, obviously you want to look at what these players play. I was looking at
Hmm.
Zach Top maybe for Rain Clouds. He's been playing some interesting stuff. Urgot, obviously TF is really strong at the moment. Neither of these top laners have been picking it up in solo queue, from what I can see at least. But obviously we could see that come out. Banana Bread, he plays stuff like Nautilus, Maokai, Rakan, really influential, hop on the enemy team, make a play, make something happen type of champions. So I feel like it's definitely a balance of who's able to affect the map more, and maybe we should be seeing a TF come out of Rain Clouds in that top side.
And I also think, especially for these first few picks, I think that flex picks are going to be the name of the game. They usually are, I feel, in some of these pre-made leagues, around the Diamond, Emerald, Plat scene. Flex picks are heavily prioritized, especially in B1s. And one flex pick that really comes to mind as a champion that's been dominating the meta recently is going to be that Karma. So I'm really curious to see if either of these teams have been warming up on their Karma or if the players know what they're doing on the champion. It's not too hard of a champion, so surely we can't mess it up. But I think it is a really competent pick. I think it has a lot of uses. We talked about it earlier, it being able to roam, stay in lane, deal a lot of damage, really lock down for junglers as well. Karma can honestly do it all at this point, so I would expect both teams to at least try to pick it up, if not ban it, in the process, out of fear that the other team is gonna index on picking her up. But we'll have to wait and see as the draft still not starting yet. But Drake, what else do you think we're going to see in this series? Do you think that there's going to be a lot of emphasis? Like, where do you think the emphasis is going to lie for both of these teams in terms of their strengths?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that Karma is one of those, right? The Karma competency is super influential because of the fact that Karma is so broken at the moment. But I hate to break it to you, neither of these supports have a good track record with the champion in
Oh
solo queue from
no.
what I can see. I don't know how they're messing it up. Like you said, even if the champion is difficult, the champion plays itself at this point. Like it
Pretty
is
much.
so insanely broken. But I definitely think that ADC has received a little bit more of a buff when it comes to the effect it has in games lately. And when we're thinking about ADC, we're thinking about champions like Varus, champions like we were mentioning off-screen Smolder. Neither of these players have been playing it that much. I would say Xora Esports leans more towards the Smolder type of champion. But I definitely feel like scaling in the bot lane, picking champions that perform well in the late game. I feel like that's kind of the name of the game and the way that the meta's been playing out, at least from my perspective lately. But we are getting into draft. Karma's already banned by
Mm-hmm.
Pentaflex, and Zora Esports is going to be on that red side, banning away that Varus. Maokai Hover also going to be banned. A lot of focus onto Zora's support. We were talking about him obviously being the highest elo on their team. So definitely wanting to make sure that they're cutting off any effect that he can have on this game.
Yep, making sure that Banana Bread isn't comfortable on a lot of these unique and powerful picks, I would say, is definitely the wise move coming here from Zora. But we are going to continue the support, or rather, Pentaflex, but we are going to continue the banning of supports as Alistar is taken off the table. Strangely enough, not a lot of emphasis put on junglers here in this patch. I feel like there is one jungle in particular that is really strong, especially on blue side, and that is the Brand. It did receive a few nerfs in 13.3, which is the patch we are playing on, but still strong, still really good at taking those grubs, still spikes really hard at 1 to 2 items. I think Brand would be a really good ban here, and if it isn't banned away, Pentaflex hopefully going to pick that one up. It also does fulfill the niche of needing some magic damage, but we'll have to wait and see, as Ivern is going to be taken off the table as the last ban here in the first phase.
And do you really think it's first pickable? I mean, surely we first pick something else a little bit more comfortable. I find it
Mhm.
interesting that we banned away the Aatrox. That's kind of a rogue one. Scrubbert was playing it in solo queue to warm up, it looked like, earlier on. So maybe just get him off of comfort. Comfort, that was the option here. But I saw, okay, Seraphine first pick?
I actually like this. I think that Seraphine, we were talking about it, Drake, flex picks really being the name of the game. And really,
Mm,
there is no bigger of a premier flex pick than Seraphine. And I mean, come on, this team's name is called Pentaflex. You would expect them to live up to their name. Now, I don't know if we'll see any Seraphine jungle. I don't know if she can do that. As a jungler myself, I haven't tried it. I don't intend to.
it's
Uh,
not good. It's not
but
good.
but Seraphine picked up in response. It looks like Zora are going to pick themselves up a flex in response with the Rel. Obviously, the champion can go support. The champion can go jungle. Rel jungle in particular has been seeing a lot of play in competitive, though, with it being able to deal with those grub shields. With Rel's Q, you knock down any kind of shield. So that is a really pesky thing to deal with when taking those grubs early on. And Rel completely removes that obstacle, and Zora are going to continue the trend of strong meta picks being in their favor, specifically toward that bot side with the Ezreal lock-in.
Yeah, a little bit interesting from him. I mean, Vinicality has shown, at least on his profiles when I was stalking him, online, op.gg. But he was playing Jinx, Jhin, Varus, Smolder, Draven, literally everything you can think of. And Ezreal was the thing that he decided to lock in. So I guess just safety into that Seraphine, obviously going to have so much sustain in the bot lane if she ends up going towards that area. Darius is an interesting pickup. He has been played in the jungle by Phoenix or Piper. I'm not sure what he wants to be called at the moment. But it's also been played top lane by Rain Clouds. I think it can be played support. I don't know. Like you said, these flex picks are crazy. Wukong does get picked up for the jungle, I would have to assume, though. So it looks
Mhm.
like Darius will be towards that top side, the blind pick.
Yeah, I mean, Darius is a strong lane phase bully, right? He is wanting to fight all the time, flash ghost. He has the damage, he has the chase down, he has basically everything for a top laner to fear. And so I would imagine that comes with all of that damage and all of that, just basically Darius being the full package of a lane bully, you generate a lot of priority. So I think a champion like Wukong can really utilize that well. Yeah, and your expression gave it away, Drake. But we are going to be seeing a Mordekaiser pickup here from Zora. Not really sure if I like this pick. Maybe this is a pick in response to the Wukong, as you can go through Wukong's stone skin, which gives him armor. You do magic damage, so naturally one does not equal two. But we'll have to wait and see where this Mordekaiser goes. I would imagine it goes top lane, but it does have the potential to go jungle. As we move on to the second phase of bans here, mid laners being the name of the game.
Yeah, and as these mid laners are banned away, I think it's really important to note how much of a wombo combo Pentaflex already has. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
talking about the draft right now, right? If we're looking at both teams, Mordekaiser, Ezreal, Rel, they don't really coincide with each other that much. Obviously, Rel is able to engage, but there's not really follow up if Mordekaiser is going to the Death Realm. Ezreal obviously doesn't have that much burst damage at the moment. But seeing the Seraphine Darius Wukong engage, I mean, I'm absolutely terrified already, and they still have two more champions to pick.
Yep, Hui taken off the board, followed by Azir. So 4 mid lane champions gone just like that. And it looks like, unless the Seraphine is mid, we haven't gotten a mid laner here yet, Drake. And I would imagine that Xora Esports wants to save counterpick for top. So a mid laner is probably what we're going to be getting. Now the question becomes who? I feel like there is potential for Silas. You were talking about that wombo combo. I feel like stealing away that Cyclone, stealing away that Encore could be really useful, especially when you have Rel's Magnet Storm. It is also good in the laning phase.
Fresh.
But we are going to be going for the Thresh, which also means that that is probably going to be a Rel jungle. So Zora utilizing the flex pick of that champion.
Yeah, and Banana Bread obviously picking up for himself a highly mechanical champion, saying, you know what, I'm going to carry this
Mm-hmm.
game. I'm going to have all of the impact. I mean, the safety coming out for this Ezreal in this game is absolutely absurd.
Oh, yeah.
Lantern, E, Flash, like, how do you possibly die in this game? So I guess it is just going to be a scaling game for Xora Esports. They're not planning to have a massive effect in the early game, at least based on the draft at the moment. Orianna is going to get picked up by Pentaflex, another wombo combo champion. Seraphine is going to be confirmed in that bot lane. Not sure if she's going to be ADC or support. Maybe a Senna to follow up. That's what I would have to assume.
Yeah, I would be assuming a Senna as well. Something with high range, maybe a Caitlyn in response as well to really try to match the poke from the Ezreal. That's also a possibility, I think, as you do lack quite a bit of backline. I feel like Seraphine's really the only one Orion wants to get in the thick of things too. But no, it's going to be a Rakan. So Rakan, Seraphine in the bottom lane here. So yeah, Wombo Combo is the name of the game here for Pentaflex. They have a lot of flex picks to prove it. So already coming out with a very strong team-oriented draft here. And Xora Esports going to last pick the victor. So that will be going in mid lane against Orianna. I'm honestly not really sure if I like this pick, Drake. I feel like there is so much lockdown coming out here from Pentaflex that this Victor, especially if Flash gets burned early on, is just going to have such a miserable time in this laning phase. But we'll have to wait and see until the game loads in for us.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a miserable one, but I mean, it is comfort. Paytime has played a lot of Victor. He's basically in Victor OTP. So picking something that you're comfortable on does have its own value. And obviously, you know the limits that you can output at all times, at least more than you would on other champions. A lot of safety in the Rel, in the Thresh as well. So if there's a lot of focus towards that mid lane, maybe he can make it out of the laning phase alive. But I'm a little bit worried about the damage profile on Pentaflex. We'll have to see, obviously, as it scales into the game. I mean, Seraphine can start one-shotting people. It doesn't have to be a weak champion when it comes to that, but I definitely would be worried towards the later stages. So I think the team on the left on a timer, team on the right definitely wanting to extend that timer as long as possible, in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pentaflex, it really comes down to how well can they play around this Darius, right? You've drafted a weak side, Rakan, Seraphine, bot lane, that is going to be trying to heal up the frontliners of Darius and Wukong, and you have a lot of push in that top side as well. I think Orianna is going to be shoving in this Victor, at least until that laser gets upgraded, and Darius is just going to be bullying out this Mordekaiser. So Wukong, it's going to be interesting to see what he does with all the priority that is expected to be generated around that side of the map. Trying to invade Rel is definitely a possibility, as Rel has a relatively slow clear speed, and just trying to get grub control. I think the moment you get grub control, try to steal those away from Xora Esports, you immediately put yourself in an advantage because, like you said, Drake, Xora Esports, they want to make sure that they can scale. They want to make sure they can extend that timer as much as possible. Getting the grubs would only really help them, I think, make it so that that timer comes to them rather than the other way around, and they allow their champions to get to that phase faster with the amount of turret plates they could get from the grub. So I think that that is going to be the most hotly contested objective in this early game. I can see both supports roaming for it as well,
Mm.
but for the most part, I think both of their game plans hinges on that camp being taken. I would say Pentaflex more than Xora Esports.
Yeah, and I mean that just means that it's important for both of them, right? So it's going to be a point of contention, and obviously it's been kind of a debate ever since Grubs came out. What is more important? Because when you focus on that top side of the map, that means that the bottom side is getting neglected. That means that Dragon can be picked up. So it is
Hmm.
definitely a balancing act in determining what you want for your team, whether you want the hyper scaling with the Grubs in the early game for Pentaflex, right? Or whether you're like, okay, maybe we can match them if we actually get Dragon Soul later on in the game.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an iffy one, and it's something that these two teams are going to be discussing right now, right, as they're locking these champions, figuring out what their game plan is. I would like to see a lot of aggression coming out of Pentaflex, like you said, but Wukong is going to struggle a little bit in their early game, at least for ganks, right?
Yeah.
Damage output isn't going to struggle, right? He does a lot more than Rel. But even Rel, like, bro, I get invaded as Graves by Rel and I lose the 1v1. So like this champion
Oh yeah.
can do a lot. Yeah, like it's a bit absurd. And obviously Mordekaiser are going to be doing a lot of that magic damage as well. So it is
Mhm.
it is iffy. And Thresh roams, like I'm a little bit scared, honestly,
Yeah.
for Pentaflex in the early game if they just make a slight misstep. A lot of CC as well. So it is going to be, I think, maybe a focus towards that mid lane, seeing which mid laner is able to roam more. And I do think Victor does get shoved in by Orianna. So a lot of focus on these two players in this lane.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the solo lanes are going to be the name of the game, and that both bot lanes are happy to just scale up, play around their team, and make sure that once that late game hits, if it hits at all, they are the ones hitting people into the back line, because that is certainly a possibility that we have to consider. But while we consider all those possibilities, while we wait for the teams to load up, while we wait for game one, week one of season 14 of the Risen Dominate League to commence, we are going to take a small little break in between then. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back with more Dominate League. See you soon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rift, to the Summoner's Rift for the first time this year in Risen Dominate. I'm Drake, and I'm joined by Quacks once again. We're here to watch Pentaflex take on the red side. I forgot. But either way, we're here for a banger game. Quacks, how excited are you for this?
Yeah, really excited. I think that both of these orgs, like we said, new to the league. They know.
Sorry, Esports, I apologize. Sorry.
Oh yeah, both of these orgs new to the league, new as teams, new as players, and overall having a lot to prove here. As they have a selected players. Both teams have selected players for them to compete, right? Because they are incredibly high up on the solo queue standings. And that can only mean that they are going to try their best every game. So I am really looking forward to seeing them play toward their win cons that we established in the draft here in game 1. And yeah, we're just gonna have to wait until those minions drop onto the rift to see what they're made of.
Yeah, and it's not going to be very long, right? The minions are already on our screens, and the mid lane is about to crash. Rel is going to be starting towards that top side on the Raptors, and obviously Wukong starting on that opposite side. Going to be a little bit of counter pathing going on. Do you think Rel invade is on the cards with the red buff?
Rel typically doesn't like to invade as a champion. Is much more calm, simply going for a 3 camp, which I would imagine that is what they are going to do. 3 camp upward, maybe try and impact the top lane, or cut off the Wukong. It really all depends on the prio that they receive. But so far, net neutral in the top lane. But I mean, when you're playing against a champion like Darius, you're bound to be pushed in, especially once he hits that level 3.
Yeah, you definitely are, and you can already see it a little bit. Also pushing in is this bot side of double ranged champions, and they hit level 2 first. So Pentaflex kind of really controlling this early game at the moment. We're all going to be pathing towards that top side. Do you think that leads into a level 3 gank or just a reset into bot?
I mean, you could see that the ward has been placed down there by Rain Clouds. He knows if Arel is coming. The wave has been pushed in, so there really isn't anything for Ellie-Man to look for. So yeah, just going to go for that reset. Maybe try and impact the bot side, but there is so much so many escape tools from the bot lane of Pentaflex, plus the teleport coming from Outplayed. We'll have to wait and see what they're thinking in order to make this rel as useful as possible early on, because you are kind of on a timer on this champion. You really want to impact the lane early, because you sort of lose that ability to influence the lanes as the game goes on, because your damage is just so low.
Yeah, it's definitely true, and you can already see that the clear is much quicker for this Wukong, nearly finishing 20 CS as Rel is barely finishing up her wolves. This bot side is a main focus for the side of Xora Esports, but I don't think there's going to be gank potential for quite a while, so maybe mid ganks, I don't know. It's definitely going to be a reset for Wukong before he looks for anything, in my opinion. But
yeah, and
a very
I mean,
slow game for now.
Yeah, relatively slow game. It doesn't really look like Phoenix is going to have an opportunity, and honestly, that's perfectly fine for Wukong. Really making sure that you get access to your Sheen, to your first couple of items is super imperative, just so that the champion can spike when you most want it to. Really spikes it around that 1 to 2 item mark. And yeah, for the most part, it is all quiet here on the Western Front.
And Grub's not going to spawn in too much time, nearly up at the moment. So definitely a lot of focus going to be pushed towards that top side. Looks like Wukong will be clearing bot to top before he moves towards them. Rel is going to be clearing her Raptors before getting her next reset in. So maybe going to move first, and we might actually see more Grub's focus coming out of Xora.
Yeah, I mean, Xora, they have the Rel, they have the shield breaking potential with that champion. So there is potential for them to maybe take 1 or 2. I think that's also a possibility we haven't touched on in this game yet, is just simply denying the mites from spawning for one team, or at the very least not as many mites spawning. And a lot of teams do that for champions that don't quickly take the grubs against comps that might really focus them down. They simply just take 1 or 2 of them and then leave, continue looking for other avenues, other ways to influence the map. And I think that's certainly a possibility for Xora here, if they're not too sure they want to commit such time to taking all 3.
Yeah, and I mean, to emphasize just how slow this game has been so far, I mean, all pots, nearly, are still available, at least for Xora, and then on the opposite side, most pots are available for Pentaflex as well, so neither team even poking that much, but obviously a little bit of a skirmish in this river. Victor's moving up, And that does mean Wukong just has to back away. But Elliman, yeah, he's kind of hesitant. Looking topside?
Yeah, but I mean, look at both supports at the same time. They are roaming up toward these grubs. They want to go for a fight here. Raincloud now has access to 6, whereas Scrubber still doesn't have that Death Realm available. So big power spike, I think, here for Pentaflex. They have to be careful of this Darius roaming down.
Ooh, Recon engaged. Rel onto the Orianna. Orianna is stun locked, knocked up, and looks like Thresh is actually the one on the back foot. Paytime doesn't have ultimate available, and the Shockwave is still available for Castiel. Doesn't want to use it. Another engage onto the Rel. Elliman is caught. He's just going to go down. First blood to Castiel and Pentaflex. Rakan does get hooked and flayed. He is able to make it out. The huge shockwave coming out from Castiel. Phoenix is looking for more, but he can't quite find anything else. The turret will buy safety for Paytime, but not for much time at all.
Yeah, and I feel like it was a combination of Xora Esports wanting to get something in return, and Pentaflex really capitalizing on that re-engage. Beautiful shockwave coming out from Castle to pick himself up a kill. And yeah, that is 2 kills going the way of the blue team. Now, it looks like Phoenix just going to go on toward the grubs. And like we talked about, just take one. He doesn't want to stay out for too long because the members of Xora Esports have respawned. So yeah, going to get 2 kills, 1 grub, and it is going to be Xora on the back foot of this game about 7 minutes in.
And exactly what Pentaflex is looking for, right? The game plan is executed perfectly. They get 2 kills in the early game onto champions that really benefit from them. Elliman will still be securing 2 grubs for himself, but this is absolutely massive for Pentaflex and the scaling that they're going to have in this game. Wukong obviously hasn't quite spent that gold yet, but a lost chapter, 3 Dark Seal stacks, and an Amplifying Tome, not to mention the Doran's Ring on this Orianna. She is absolutely massive in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Orianna coming back with the Lost Chapter will definitely have a better time in the laning phase. Doesn't have that flash, though, a key summoner spell for a champ like Orianna who doesn't have any innate, mobility, and also doesn't have the phase rush. So there is potential for someone like Banana Bread or Element to kind of come down here, float down toward this mid lane, and try and relieve some pressure to get Paytime, equal to that Orianna's strength on this Victor.
Yeah, but a lot of priority from this mid lane. Orianna obviously got a wave for free moving into the river. It looks like a lot of pressure will be exerted. All of this vision in enemy jungle is just full control for Pentaflex in the bot side.
Yeah, Pentaflex really, I mean, look at how many blue wards there are there. That is absolutely crazy. There is basically nothing that Eliman can do at this point other than clear those. You really are going to be seen no matter what avenue you go into. So really good early game plan coming out here from Pentaflex and just completely locking down this Rel when they are most effective.
Oh, but Rel finds an engage. Rakan is stunned, knocked up. Samuel does manage to find his way out for now. The flash away will guarantee his safety, and Seraphine is here to help. It does look like Zora's charge will be blocked off for now. But Phoenix is still in the area with his mid laner. Dragon is started up by Xora, and it doesn't look like it's going to be contested by Pentaflex. Another neutral objective going their way despite being down in kills.
Yeah, I mean, they managed to get the neutral objective. They chunked out the Rakan, who is forced to go on to the reset. True Shot Barrage going to actually come in there from Vinicality. But getting objectives, making the most of, what damage they have, which is going to be the Ezreal. Hasn't backed in a while, though, so it feels like this champion, we talked about it in the draft phase, you and I, Drake, but we want to make sure, at least Xora wants to make sure that this Ezreal is as juiced up, is as safe as possible, because it really is going to be their champion, along with Paytime, that is that late game insurance and that backline that they are going to have to work to protect as this game continues.
Yeah, of course, and so why not pick up a cleanse on top? Very safe is Vinicality at the moment. Just trying to get this wave in. He has the Thresh available to him, so he should just be able to get it in and back. I'm curious actually how much gold he has to spend once he gets back there. But yeah, I mean, it is a case of this Ezreal is getting the scaling that he needs. Victor is quite far behind on CS, not to mention Vinicality as well, actually. So it is them in the back seat, right? Pentaflex are still leading the charge. They had a lot of control. A slight misstep from Samuel does mean that they lose a lot of the pressure and emphasis they had on the early game, but they can focus on next dragon. Grubs are up soon as well, so every pressure point they just need to be there and maybe not make the same mistakes that they made earlier getting caught, because there are so many CC available to Xora.
Yeah, and I mean, I already feel like Xora Esports are kind of setting themselves up to be behind despite having the Dragon, despite having 2 Grubs. Look at the CS difference coming out from the laners. There's about a 10 CS difference in top, a little bit
20.
over a 10 CS difference in mid, and about a 30 CS difference in the bot lane. So already it's Pentaflex really coming out with the gold here, just simply better farming habits and really playing around that to generate their gold lead. And with those extra 2 kills, honestly, that's just petty change at this point. It really is the CS that's making the difference here.
Yeah, and Phoenix is playing rather aggressive. I mean, he's in his own jungle, but is he safe? They found the Darius on the opposite side of the jungle, and it looks like Xora are on the back foot now. Phoenix finds a massive knockup, gets 3. Shockwave is there, Paytime is dead. Banana is sure to follow, and it doesn't look like the Rel is going to be making it out of this one alive either. Rain Clouds gets a double kill. The Wukong does end up falling, but it's only a matter of time until this Mordekaiser falls as well. Samuel looking for any follow-up he can find. You can only run to the enemy base at this point. You are dead in the Sand Scrubber, and it's a massive win for Xora.
Yup, Xora coming up
sorry,
off
for Pentaflex.
Yeah, Pentaflex. Pentaflex coming up clean in that fight. Beautiful wombo combo there from Phoenix and Castle. That mid-jungle synergy really showing itself here early on in this game. Unfortunately, though, for Pentaflex, they do not get the chance to go straight for those grubs, and there is still potential for Xora to try and fight for those. We'll have to wait and see what they do, but so far this Rel is on that bot side taking the Gromp, so I actually don't think they are going to contest these Grubs at all. They are simply going to give the 3 over to Pentaflex, who are continuing to get this gold lead further and further apart from Xora.
Yeah, and they're just trading lack of respect, if I'm honest. I mean, earlier Samuel P did see Rel, obviously saw the Thresh as well in that tri-brush, but decided to kill the ward anyways. Didn't respect the enemy team and ended up dying for it, losing the dragon in the process. But obviously on the opposite side, Xora get a little bit too confident, move into enemy jungle, and get disrespect the enemy team as well. So it's just back and forth, not respecting each other. And I feel like if Xora are able to tone that down a bit, back off, just say, okay, no ego, we're going to play for late game. I feel like they can definitely get back into control of this game. But at the moment, it is definitely scaling a little bit out of their hands.
And they definitely have the tools to be able to play for this late game, like you mentioned, Drake. They have the dragon in hand. There is going to be another one spawning in about 40 seconds here. The mountain will be the next one. If they can maybe get that, then I think that they set themselves up for potentially bringing this game to late. But yeah, like you said, every skirmish is going the way of Pentaflex, and it is due to a lack of respect and just not respecting the wombo combo that this entire comp is built around.
Yeah, and we already see so much of an item difference in this mid lane. The Malignance was just picked up by Victor, but you already see an item, completed boots, 9 stacks on a Dark Seal for this Orianna. And you have to think that every neutral objective from now on is just forfeit until Victor is able to scale up, until Ezreal is able to make an impact, and who knows, maybe Mordekaiser is able to somehow find a miracle play in these fights.
Yep, as both neutrals going to be spawning here. Mountain Draken is available for both teams to take, and the Herald is also available. And it looks like Xora Esports are going to just go for the Herald, saying, we can't fight the dragon. We know that that river basically belongs to Pentaflex. So it goes back to what you were saying, Drake, making sure that they pay respects, making sure that they scale up and play around where most of the members of Pentaflex are not. So I like to see this movement coming out here from Xora Esports, and they're getting objectives. They're at least trading in the process. So it's a step in the right direction here for this red team that has been struggling in this game.
Yeah, 100%. And Pentaflex very aware of the fact that that was going down. They end up picking the dragon because they know that the Rift Herald is just going to be forfeit.
Whoa.
A lot of damage coming out from Castiel. He does find the kill, and he won't be taken down by the Victor ultimate in the process. Walking out fully safe, has his team in so many places waiting for him. Gonna be able to shove out this wave in the mid lane as well, and it's a massive lead for this Orianna. It just keeps getting worse for Xora Esports.
Yeah, Paytime going down there. So much damage on the Orianna, and this is only going to get worse, I feel. This is a one-item Orianna who has 10 Dark Seal stacks, so this game this Orianna is just going to continue to grow unless somehow Xora managed to find a pick onto this champion who still has flash. So it is incredibly difficult for them at the moment. And yeah,
and I
just
think
have
Rel. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, keep going. You're good.
I was just gonna say, I think Rel is definitely building for the Orianna. It's gonna be fine, guys. She's not gonna take damage from Orianna, I promise.
Yeah, a bit of a questionable build, I honestly think, from Rel. Really, the main damage. Oh, hold that thought. Scrubber going in.
No way Rain Clouds win this, right? I mean, he's moving so quickly with the Ghost.
Fighting.
Oh, flash away from the Q, and he is gonna be able to find his way out of that one alive. Not gonna be able to turn it at all, but living is all you need, especially when you're in such a massive lead in this lane.
Yeah, I mean, level 11 to level 10, 134 CS to 108, making sure that Scrubber not only can't get that kill, but the bounty that Raincloud has on this Darius is super important, as Castle may be in trouble.
Huge play from Samuel being in that position to back up his mid laner. Very aware of the movements of this Rel. Gonna be face checking him, however, maybe not as aware as he should be. Oh, actually, Elliman is the one in danger.
Ooh.
Able to find his way out. And just a lot of flexing, a lot of pressure being exerted by both of these two teams, making sure they're both aware of where the line of scrimmage is. Samuel trying to find some sort of engage on the Victor. The Ghost is coming out. The flash forward from the Rakan. Is there any follow-up, though? Phoenix is trying to get into range, and it might have just been a little bit of a troll play from Samuel. His Wukong got caught in the process. Big shockwave trying to disengage for Phoenix, but he is knocked up again. He finally disengages enough. Flash away. He's not quite able to live. He finally gets a kill back, but it will just end up being a 1-for-1. A lot of flashes expended, and honestly, I don't think Pentaflex won out in this trade.
Yeah, Pentaflex, I mean, a 1-for-1 trade at this point is always going to go the favor of Xora Esports just because of how behind they are in this game. So they managed to find a kill onto the Wukong, and it is going to go to Scrubber. So this is a champion that still has its uses. I would say Mordekaiser has a little bit more time until it falls off, but we're going to have to see how Scrubber sort of makes the most of that, because so far in this laning phase, Raincloud is 2-0. He has that Trinity Force acquired. This is a scary Darius champion that you're going to have to respect. And with no Death Realm for a little bit longer, yeah, you definitely don't want to go in on this. So we'll have to wait and see what he does with that kill. But so far, it's kind of just pennies, I feel, for Xora.
And it's crazy that... Oh, never mind. Rainclouds is engaging.
He's
it looks like
in.
Scrubber is just absolutely deleted. Very low at the moment, trying to get away. And the ult should be enough. It's a dunk for Rainclouds, and it's a kill in the top lane.
Rainclouds just melting through Scrubber, and we talked about it. He had to try and look for something, but he didn't have the Death Realm up. This Darius with the item, with the Mercury Treads as well, not taking any damage and dealing so much as a result. Castle may be in trouble here, though.
Yeah, hold the phone. Elliman is actually just going to have to disengage from there. And the Stride Breaker coming out from Wukong didn't find much damage. But, you know, Phoenix keeping his mid laner safe, and I think they honestly could have turned that 3v2 since he was in the area. So it's just a dangerous game that these two teams are playing, walking the tightrope at the moment. And they just need to keep trying. As you can see, Banana Bread in this lane as well. I mean, if they don't keep trying, eventually Orianna will just be too much of a problem. So I'm respecting the efforts, but mostly futile for the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, I really like what Castle is going for here. You can see that he is probably going to be building into a Banshee's Veil second, so really paying respect to Banana Bread and the pick potential that this Xora Esports squad has. Really just wants to make sure that survivability is the #1 goal for this Orianna with how fed and ahead it has been in this game one. And certainly building like that, itemizing for it, and with this dragon spawning, is going to be very difficult to take down. And it doesn't even look like Xora want to contest this. It looks like they're just cool taking this top lane tower with the Herald.
Yeah, it's a bit sad. It looks like Herald might... Ooh, it didn't quite die to the turret, so they might get a second charge out of it. But yeah, I think it was a really good move from them to push towards that top side so early on. Obviously, 30 seconds were still left until that dragon was spawning, so it wasn't a case of Pentaflex being able to move in time because they still needed to hold control of that river. So I think really good macro play coming out from Xora to be able to pick up that dragon. You'd hope it came out a little bit sooner so that less mistakes were made, but I mean, 9 kills to 2, it's not going to end the game here. It's not going to even it out. But it's a good mindset to have, obviously, on the back foot, maintaining your mental, being able to still play for your small objectives and punish the enemy team where you can.
Yeah, and I mean, Castle going to actually use the
Samuel?
shockwave. Samuel maybe in trouble.
Gets hooked, and he's stuck in the Thresh. He's just absolutely deleted. Thresh did steal the kill, which is a bit
Scrubbert's
sad.
on the flank.
Scrubbert is on the flank. He does take Castiel to the Death Realm, but will he actually win in the 1v1? Both teams are flanking as much as they can. Castiel is very low. Doesn't quite die. The huge encore comes out from Seraphine, but it's not enough. Rain clouds found in the middle of 5, and he will end up falling. Seraphine is killed, shut down on the Darius, and it's a triple kill for the Xora Esports side.
Yeah, it's Scrubbert with a beautiful TP flank, manages to find Castle when he doesn't have flash, and the Orianna, the #1 wanted champion for Xora Esports, gets found. And now as their reward, they're marching on the Baron. Phoenix still about 5 seconds away from respawning. But Samuel's making his way up.
Yeah, but Pentaflex doesn't have any damage. There's no real way to challenge this, I feel like. Obviously, Scrubbert is low, but they don't know Paytime's mana. They don't know the situation. They have to just give it. And it is a massive flip of pressure in this game. Samuel? Okay. Just being a little bit of a nuisance. But yeah, it's a massive flip. I mean, this game is completely flipped on its head.
Yeah, absolutely. What started as like a 5 to 6k gold lead has now deflated into about 2k. Still, though, in favor of Pentaflex, so they still have a decent amount of power to their champion pool. You can never really underestimate the power of that Wukong Orianna combo, even if they were behind, which they aren't. But yeah, Xora Esports managing to fight back, managing to get picks when it matters, and the Baron. So this is really a big power play for them. They could look for more picks, look to push these waves. They still haven't taken the bot turret in particular or the mid turret. So these are two things that have to be on their minds to really push up that vision line that they have so desperately needed in this game 1.
Yeah, and Pentaflex finding themselves in quite a sticky situation. Obviously, we were talking about the impact of the early game in this game. Pentaflex wanting to be able to control the early game, snowball the game out of control, and then eventually win just by sheer force, right? But they're going to be able to get outscaled if it goes on for much longer. So massive for Xora to be able to secure a little bit of a safety net in this game, pick up that Baron, keep it away from the enemy team. And the pedal is no longer being pushed on by Pentaflex for at least the next 3 minutes. It pushes them into a more and more dire situation, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And continuing on to the sort of trend and talking more about Xora Esports and the fact that they have that flex potential. Look at this Ezreal. Now has the Essence Reaver plus the Mana Immune complete. So this is when Ezreal starts to get a little bit more dangerous around the map. And combined with the fact that he has the Baron buff, he has these 2 items in hand, and the fact that he hasn't died yet, this is setting up to be a carry. I think Xora Esports really can play around as these next objectives continue to spawn, and as they continue to play with this Baron buff, they should really start juicing this Ezreal up, trying to get him to 3 items, because so far, he hasn't really made any mistakes. Vindicality has done a really good job of knowing the limits of this champion and staying safe when he needs to.
Yeah, and it's definitely a little bit of a weird one. When you're looking at the gold distribution for the side of Xora Esports, obviously Thresh has a kill, Rel has a kill, and those are the only 2 champions that are ahead in their lanes. All of the solo lanes, including the ADCs, are the gold is higher for the side of Pentaflex. So if you want to argue, the influential lanes are the ones that are fed on the side of Pentaflex, and on the opposite side, it is the supportive roles that are going to be having a little bit more gold for the side of Xora. So it's definitely a lot of how this Rel is able to find an engage, how Thresh is able to secure safety for his team as well as other engage potentials. And I think Eliman and Banana Bread are definitely the 2 to watch for the side of Xora for the remainder of this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And in Xora with the Baron buff still, we're trying to look for something in the mid lane, but Castle still fed on this Orianna, not going down, just continuing to clear out the waves. This is something that we haven't touched on, but the combined the combined clear of Orianna and Seraphine makes it really difficult to knock down a lane with them both present. So yeah, you can see Scrubbert is just going to go to the top lane. He is going to try and split a crew leads elsewhere. You have to remember that Herald did charge.
Oh,
massive
Phoenix knockup comes out from Phoenix. He finds Banana, he finds Vindicality. A flash away, another triple knockup in the backline, but Eliman is solo holding back the side of Pentaflex. Samuel engages, but he's low. Phoenix is gonna die. And how much more can Pentaflex fight in this river? Orianna has to get away. Rel is on the chase. Rain Clouds is in the Death Realm, and Scrubbert is not giving him any
Vindicality's right there, though.
Oh, ooh, almost kills Vindicality. He will end up falling but it's a massive win for the side of Xora Esports.
Vindicality getting too close to Raincloud, and one auto attack with a fully stacked bleed from Darius will do it. They finally find the target, but Scrubber...
He's just deleted! Castiel and Ome over the wall, outplayed, and it is a Mordekaiser in the grave. Eliman won't take much damage in this encounter, though. Paytime just needs to play behind his jungler. They are the only side with Smite, a big engagement on Castiel, but guys, you have to respect the Seraphine damage. Can they just focus the dragon? It's going to be a case of an engage. Castiel steps up. Paytime can literally not get in range. He's outranged so much. The smite does come out from Eliman. He's able to find a little bit of a disengage. Re-engages, gets double knockup. He's actually not taking any damage. He's dealing so much. Paytime nearly caught in the crossfire. Samuel can't quite find an engage Eliman. Guys, you just need to back away. You got the dragon, and that's exactly what they did. A flash over the wall for Thresh's safety. And we're looking for the next objective, which is Baron, in a minute's time.
Yeah, and I mean, Xora Esports, they managed to find the dragon, and I would say it was honestly a tie in the fight, both of them managing to find equal amounts of the other team. But a little bit of miscommunication, it felt there from Xora. They wanted to go for the re-engage, some of them, but the others wanted to simply disengage. So Phoenix might be found.
It does look like he's going to be able to blast himself away. Samuel, you keep stepping up, man. You are so goddamn cocky. Does manage to dodge that hook, though, this time. And going to be able to clear a little bit more vision. I do think it's a matter of resetting, pushing towards that top side. And I mean, this is exactly how all of these late games play out, right? It's juggling the map. And it does look like movement is towards that top side for now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the big thing now, you know, as we kind of settle into the dawning part of this game, we are about 27 minutes in, so this game is definitely more than halfway over, I would assume. You know, some premier members really coming out here for game one is going to be Raincloud. I think that this is a player we talked about a lot in draft, making sure that this Darius was ahead and able to exert as much pressure with Phoenix as possible in this top side. 5 and 2 has the Sterax gauge complete, Mercury treads along with the Trinity Force. So this is not only a Darius that does a lot of damage, but can tank a lot of damage at the same time. And I think it's really time that Xora Esports pay respect to this pick, start itemizing against such a tanky champion, because they don't have a lot of pen in their inventories. Really all they have is Paytime with the Shadow Flame. But you're not going to be doing damage to this Darius, and you have to be aware that he's only going to get tankier as the game goes on. You have to be accounting for that late game spike at 3 items, 4 items for this champion.
Yeah, you definitely do. And I mean, that's not to underscore the impact that Scubbert has had on this game as well, right? We were talking in draft about the impact of top lane versus support in this game, and I definitely think that Scubbert has stepped up to the plate. Mordekaiser getting that flank earlier on, flipped the game on its head. Oh, yeah. And even in these team fights, right, getting Raincloud separated from the team, getting him very low. Obviously, Vindicality did end up falling in the last fight, but doing his job as that Mordekaiser, right, and doing it rather well. So both of these top laners making a massive impact in this game.
Yep, and both teams just kind of dancing around the Baron, trying to get vision with one another. Samuel going to spot out that control ward, but Scrubber curiously absent from the fight as Banana Bread manages to find Samuel, but he just can't engage this with the lack of members up toward this top side, but they are making their way up. Potential for a fight is certainly high.
Yeah, Xora definitely wants a fight on the horizon. Obviously, Rel wasting her smite to remove that bastion of safety from the Orianna does mean that they are looking for some sort of engage. Thresh looking as much as he can, but I mean, the range that Seraphine can clear this wave from is absolutely ridiculous. Like, how do you possibly punish this champion? Phoenix is going to be clearing his blue buff and moving back towards that top side. It's just so many resets coming out. I mean, the game is so tense at the moment. The next fight probably determines it, so both teams not wanting to make too much of a misstep, as they are very well aware of what the next fight's implications are for the rest of the game.
And it's really tough for Xora, I think, right? Like you talked about, there is so much wave clear coming out from the Seraphine, and you add the Orianna on top of that, and it makes it really tough for any one lane to be pushed down by Xora Esports. And so you have to put someone on a side lane, but really the only person you can put on a side lane is Scrubber, who you really want in these fights, not just as a front line, but to have that Death Realm available at all times, you know, remove priority targets like Raincloud and Castle and Phoenix. So it is a bit of a conundrum, I think, for Xora Esports. in this game. You want to group as 5, but you need to make sure you have someone in the side lane at the same time. But it looks like they might group as 5 no matter what here, as the dragon is spawning up and both teams looking at soul point.
This is an interesting one. Obviously, the side of Xora
Ellie
Esports has run
Man.
into 5. Pentaflex does find a knock-up. Vindicility is taken very low. Phoenix does end up getting into the backline. Ezreal is deleted. Raincloud looking for the Rel, getting all of his stacks up. Gonna look for more. A huge encore into the backline. Thresh is dead. Darius is looking for more. Raincloud doesn't quite find the dunk onto the Victor, but not many more members of Xora will be living in this exchange. Scrubber does have the Death Realm, but he has Tizonias in his own realm. He will end up going down, and it's a clean ace for the side of Pentaflex, and it should be game 1 of the first series of this season, streamed in Risen Season 14.
Yeah, I mean, they have 20 seconds until Vindicality and Banana Bread spawn. It looks like it will. Drake, game number 1 going the way of Pentaflex. There were some bumps in the road. It looked like Xora could maybe make a comeback, but Vindicality, crucially when it mattered most, got picked off. Phoenix going into the backline with the Wukong, and they will finish this game in commanding fashion.
Absolutely insane game from both of these teams. Both teams showcasing just why they are in this league, why they're here in Dominate, and a little bit of a dominating performance coming out, at least in that last fight, from the side of Pentaflex, but an even game overall. I mean, this has really interesting implications for the rest of the series. I feel like draft is going to develop quite a bit. There's going to be maybe more flex picks coming out, and I'm curious to see what these two teams thought were the problem children of each side. Obviously, Darius was a little bit of a thorn in the side of obviously of the red side. Scrubbert not really thriving in that lane, but Mordekaiser equally impactful. So I definitely think that there's a lot to think about between for these two teams in the next draft. And I was really excited about that first game of the season.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really good first game of the season. I felt like both teams showed a lot of color. I think that Pentaflex were really put on the back foot by Xora Esports toward the middle half of that game. But, at the end of the day, they managed to get the Wombo combo that they wanted, and really all it took was one of those. And they managed to find themselves a win. So huge props to Pentaflex. We'll have to see if Xora can bite back in game 2, as we are going to take a small little break while we wait for the teams to load in and for draft to start doing its own thing. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Dominate League. See you on the other side, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go.
Hello, everybody. My name is Drake. I'm joined once again by the lovely Quacks, and we are back with season 14 of this first week of the spring season of Risen Dominate. Quacks, we just finished game one where Xora Esports did end up losing to um, Pentaflex, sorry. And Pentaflex obviously won in quite dominating fashion near the latter stages of that game. Oriana carrying them all the way through after a massive lead in the early game. But they are put onto the red side in this next draft. How are we feeling about the next game? Do you feel like Pentaflex are just going to clean 2-0, or do you feel like Xora have a chance to fight back in this series?
Yeah, I think Xora definitely have a chance, right? I think toward that mid game, they really showed that they can come back. A beautiful TP flank from that Mordekaiser really flipped the game on its head and made it so that Xora could potentially make a comeback. And I think that it was simply through Pentaflex's wombo combo and the fact that they were also able to get a few picks and just simply better vision. They managed to bring that game back and win game one. But I think if Xora are able to draft a little bit more cohesively, I think that we could probably see a more out there game too. Specifically, I think the Mordekaiser, although it was really good in securing lockdown for some members, rarely did Mordekaiser really ever kill someone in the death realm in a team fight. So I think if you're looking for a better lane bully, something to match a champion like Darius that we have already seen Penta loves to put in that top side, you should be thinking maybe something like an Olaf could be good. I think that that also generates priority and makes it really difficult for Penta to fight you because you're Olaf, right? You're a gigantic lane bully that gets into the middle of every fight and is nigh unstoppable. I think that you just need to sort of match the fire and that Penta put on in game one, and you need to try and make it so that you can also bite back toward these objectives, because we saw a little bit of bite back toward those grubs and that third dragon. They just didn't have the damage to really follow up with it, and I felt like that was Zora's biggest issue in game one, was just simply having too little damage.
All right, yeah, awesome. And I definitely agree. I do think that that was a massive impact. And obviously, the missing puzzle piece wasn't quite that Mordekaiser. But as we get into this next drafting phase, Xora has banned away Seraphine on the blue side for their first ban. Karma is banned away by Pentaflex, so not going to be allowed to get through this banning phase. And it's another target ban on the bot lane of Pentaflex coming out from Xora. I feel like you have to you have to match them at this point. You have to ban a bot lane champion as well if you are
Varus,
Pentaflex.
probably.
Yeah, you gotta keep it fair.
Yeah.
Varus is a good one. I do agree.
Yeah, but it looks like Maokai going to be taken off the table instead. We are really making sure that the supports from both teams do not have a good time, but there is always that Rakan to fall back to, like we saw in game one, if you really want that engage. But Zora, gonna take away that Varus. We'll have to wait and see if they pivot over toward the bot lane, which has been really heavily emphasized, not just in game two of draft, but I also think in game one of draft, there were so many bans going toward that bot side, which didn't really see a ton of action in game one. It really was all toward that mid lane and toward that top side where we saw the most fighting and the supports roaming up, and the ADCs just kind of left to dry, left to CS in their own lane. But Penta going to continue that trend, going to ban away the Draven. So that is taken off the table. A lot of aggression being denied away from Xora in this early game by banning that away as well.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, you can't under highlight the impactfulness, at least, of those two lanes in the last game, right? Like, obviously, it wasn't massively impactful in the laning stages, but Seraphino kind of won them the game at the end of that one. Obviously, Ezreal was doing butt tons of damage. The Ivern is going to get picked up here for Xora first. So this is an interesting one because looking at Zora's team, they have picked Ivern support, they have picked Ivern jungle, they have picked Ivern in the mid lane / ADC roles. So this champion is super flexible for this team. I assume it's going to be like standard, right? And most likely, I feel like the champion is the best in the jungle, so maybe put him there. Karthus is picked up by Pentaflex, and we were talking about this. We were talking about this off stream earlier on, before game one, actually. And Pentaflex was flaming in the draft last week. They were saying, oh, like, we'll pick Karthus any lane. Like, you don't know where it's going. We're probably going to put it top. We're going to have to see where it ends up going, though. I don't know if it's an answer to the jungle, but another pick going to be picked up by Pentaflex here. I feel like it has to be at least a jungle match if the Karthus is not going to be going there.
I also think that there is potential for this Karthus to go in the
Senna?
bot lane as well. Karthus Senna is a lane
Yeah.
that not only provides a lot of poke, but just a lot of global pressure. Having the Requiem plus the Dawning Shadow is a huge deal, and I think especially if you're going to be having a top side that is more fight heavy, like we saw kind of last game, where the top side was really fight heavy, whereas the bot side was more scale up, and play toward your item win cons, then this could certainly be a huge advantage for Penta in that regard. But Xora going to respond here, and it looks like they're just going to juice up this Nautilus pick here. We have the Ivern, we have the Nautilus. If you can get this champion who is really strong in the meta ahead, I think this Aatrox will be nigh immortal, unkillable, while also dealing a ton of damage. So I like that they're kind of indexing toward this top lane. It seems like they really focused on making sure top was, again, the lane that they wanted to play for. But Penta going to completely pivot and actually lock in the orange. So they don't want to play for this top side. They're saying, we can adapt. We can change where our win con goes should we want to.
Yeah, and I definitely love the response here from Xora. I feel like it's a good response. Obviously, Karthus and Senna are going to struggle a bit into champions that have massive amounts of sustain, as well as the ability to hop onto you and knock you up, right? So really good answers in Nautilus, Ivern, and Aatrox. Obviously, Ivern was before that, but it works very well here, in my opinion. And Aatrox, obviously a comfort champion for Scrubbert as well. It does mean that he should be able to have an impact in this game. We were talking about him playing it in solo queue earlier on. So yeah, I'm really happy with this draft so far. Azir and Orianna going to be banned away from the mid lane. So I think just mid lane focus bans. A lot of champions in the mid lane are super impactful at the moment. So get them all off the board if you need to. And then Pentaflex probably going to blind it, or would you think that they maybe pick towards that jungle role first?
I mean, I honestly think that if this Twisted Fate gets taken away, which it most likely will, I would expect the next ban to be the Hui.
Yeah.
Yup. So we have completely removed the mid laners from the equation. Orianna is still up, and I feel like
No,
although
ban.
oh, it is banned. Okay, yeah. Orianna taken off the table as well. Nico is up and available. I think that
True.
provides you a little too much magic damage, though. I feel like having a Karthus and a Nico makes it a lot easier for champions like Aatrox to itemize against them. So maybe an AD threat actually coming here for the mid lane. Instead, they are doing something really interesting by having the Darius locked in alongside the Drake. They don't call them Pentaflex for nothing, and honestly, it's a caster's worst nightmare trying to figure out where some of these picks go. So I think I might decide that I just simply don't like this team for the stuff that they pull out in these games.
I honestly wish I could drag my notes into the screen, like into the frame. I have Darius highlighted, underscored, and bolded for the jungler of Pentaflex for Phoenix.
Really?
Yeah, he played like an absurd amount of Darius jungle, and he's like got like a 90% win rate on it. I mean, it's a surprising pick, but he's actually super comfortable on the champion. So definitely very interesting to see it actually picked up here for him. And I don't think Xora are anywhere near keeping up with this draft. Lucky in the Jinx, they're just like, I don't know, I'm dizzy. We're gonna pick a strong champion. They have to pick a mid laner as well. Victor, no, Nico is gonna be picked up.
Ooh.
So you did mention the Nico power, and they
Mhm.
said, yeah, we want that for us.
Yeah, I actually really like Zora's draft. I think that they have a lot of damage. If Pentaflex, one of their champions, gets caught out, it's going to be really hard for them to escape the jaws of this Zora comp. And I love the Ivern pick. I have been telling people that I think this champion is super good, super versatile on whether or not you want to pick it into full, or versatile on whether or not you want to build it full AP, Malignant's Cosmic Drive, or if you want to go for the support build, rush the Redemption, rush the Staff of Flowing Water, and basically Zora is really comfortable with basically whatever kind of style they have to play into. I think that they can adapt. They have huge hyper carries. They have a ton of damage. They have scaling in their hand. I think that this is a much bigger improvement than what we saw in game one. And I think Penta are drafting a little bit more unorthodox. But still, it seems like this top side is going to be the focus, while also just having this bot lane be the scaling for the team.
Yeah, definitely an unorthodox draft on the side of Pentaflex. But I mean, despite it being unorthodox, it is well balanced in my opinion, right? You have 3 range champions, you have 2 frontliners. Obviously, it is going to be a little bit difficult for Darius to make it through an Ivern, a Nautilus, an Aatrox to get to that Nico, to get to that Jinx. Obviously, Nico also has the ability to just go into stasis usually because Zonius is one of the key items that she picks up. Jinx has the traps available. So it is going to be a difficult game for this Darius. But if you're ignoring the Darius completely, you have damage threats on Syndra, Senna, Karthus. You have a really good frontline in Ornn. You have follow-up with his ultimate, right? So both teams drafting rather well balanced, if I were to be honest. I'm not entirely sure how it would play out in the 5v5 because it is so unorthodox. But I definitely think that it is going to come down to mechanics like it always does. But these two teams are not going to be losing directly based on the composition, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, and I would expect that with this Xora comp, for them to really just come out swinging right out of the gate. I think that this Ivern has a ton of setup to work with from all three of his lanes. And like you said, if the mechanics are on point for Xora, then the game should be no problem for them. This Ivern can really, really make an impact later on. It's just sort of that early game that you worry about, but there's so much setup for this pick that I don't think the early game is a huge concern for Xora. Meanwhile, I think Pentaflex playing around this Darius jungle, I don't know how they're going to do it. We'll have to wait and see. But they have a huge scaling win con in champions like Syndra and Karthus. But curiously enough, and potentially dangerous for Pentaflex, is they're both magic damage focused, right? You will have champions like the Nautilus, like the Aatrox, building things like Rookerin, trying to soak up as much of that damage from those carries as possible. So it feels like Penta are on a little bit of a timer toward that mid game to really get those champions and the ball rolling for this comp.
Yeah, and I mean the mid game is massive for them, right? If Darius is able to just thrive and survive for the first like 6 levels, he hits level 6. Phoenix does run Ghost on Darius. He runs Ghost Smite, so you're literally able to just move at Mach 10 and dodge the knock-up abilities that are coming out from Ivern from Nautilus. They literally just can't hit you, and then you run in, you absolutely dunk on them, and level 6 is an absolutely terrifying time for the side of Xora. So it's going to be a juggling match for sure. Xora are going to have the upper hand at the beginning. Hopefully they can secure a couple of neutral objectives because of that, but once it gets towards that mid game, Penta is a terrifying composition to play against.
Yeah, I mean, these objectives should really go the way of Xora. I think in the early game, you have so much river control, I think, with a champion like Nautilus, who loves fighting in rivers, right? It's much more linear, which is what he likes, so that you can hit as many of those hooks as humanly possible. And I think if any of the members, save Ornn, get hooked by this Nautilus, they're just dead. There's so much chain CC and lockdown and damage from Xora that if you get hit by one of those dredge lines, I think it's just a gray screen waiting to meet you. But we'll have to wait and see, right? Nautiluses sometimes don't roam. Sometimes they are focused on the laning phase. And I think with a champion like Jinx, you have to be focused on that pick.
Especially in the Senna Karthus.
Yeah, especially that you are very prone to getting dove. But we'll have to wait and see what both teams sort of think and how they execute their drafts. We'll have to see how that plays relative to the objectives. I would expect a lot of fighting at basically all stages of the game, but we'll have to wait and see on the other side while we wait for the spectator delay to catch up to us. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Risen Dominate League. See you guys soon.
Hello, everybody. My name is Drake. I'm joined by Quacks once again. We're here watching Xora Esports take on Pentaflex. They are 1 win down. Pentaflex currently 1 win up in this series. They're looking for some revenge. Quacks, are you excited to see this game play out?
Yeah, I'm especially excited because we were wrong, Drake, you and I. It is actually going to be a Karthus jungle and a Senna Ornn bot lane, who, curiously enough, have taken Ghost, Flash, and Ignite. So those summoners dictating that this is a bot lane that wants to go aggressive. They want to fight. Screw scaling for Senna. Which would be really interesting to see, because when you're playing against a champion, when you're playing against a comp like Jinx with Lethal Tempo and a Nautilus with Ignite, you don't usually see people saying, "Ah, yes, I will fight that." But it looks like Pentaflex are doing all sorts of unorthodox things today.
Yeah, I'm definitely surprised by what I'm seeing on my screen. I didn't even notice in loading screen, I'm going to be honest. This is a bit absurd. Yeah, that's definitely a little bit interesting. Does that... Yeah, Senna didn't even go the support item, so she's just going to be going farming Senna as well. It's definitely not what I'm used to when I'm looking at the bot lane and when I'm seeing a Karthus Senna on my screen. A lot of poke coming out in the mid lane already, though. Castiel, I guess he's going to suffer in the early game, at least, from Paytime's poke. And yeah, I mean, that Comet actually did so much. What the heck?
Yup, and you can see both junglers starting on the bot side here. Eliman going to probably path up toward that top side, as we can see in Aatrox versus Darius lane. This is incredibly volatile and, you know, important for both teams to get ahead, because this champion is going to be your primary front line. Just making sure that they are as unkillable as possible is the goal for both teams. Just thinking about that mid to late game, thinking about that 1 to 2 item spike that both champions like to utilize.
Wow.
Banana Bread relentlessly hooking onto Samuel.
Yeah, that was a lot of poke coming out from the Jinx there. I didn't expect her to be doing this much damage this early, but I guess level 2 spike, and you're obviously hitting a level 1 Ornn with no, not even a singular tank item yet. But a lot of poke coming out in that bottom side. Adversely, though, in the mid lane, Castiel is pushing in Paytime. Going to be focusing on getting that early game pressure, making sure that Karthus is as safe as possible in his jungle. If Ivern does choose to invade or cause some mayhem, at least Karthus will have that back up relatively quickly. And I think that's what you need to focus on, right? Phoenix wants to be able to farm as quickly as possible, set the pace of the game, and really make an impact once he's super ahead and able to do tons of damage with his itemization.
Yeah, absolutely. As both junglers going to be finishing up their clears right around now. Oh, Eliman.
Samuel.
Oh, wait, hang on, Samuel.
Ooh, flash away. Yeah, it does get ignited as well. Viniculity is caught in a root. The W, it does find it! First blood for the Jinx! No flash available for Samuel. And Viniculity absolutely popping off at 3 minutes and 20 seconds into this game.
He manages to get the snipe onto the Jinx. Early kill for a champion like that is a deadly. Pentaflex shivering in their boots as we got to fight on the top crab.
What? We're playing Ivern, dude. We don't win these. He has to walk away. Oh my god, Phoenix hitting every single Q.
Phoenix
Gets the Dark Harvest proc to boot. Rainclouds doesn't quite find the hook. Won't be able to find surely anything further in this top side, but all 3 members of Pentaflex backed into that corner. And yeah, I mean, they secured the scuttle. Karthus got the Dark Harvest stack. They're going to be happy with that, but a lot of pressure coming out from the side of Xora as well.
Yeah, Banana Bread roaming as well, which means that this bot wave is going to be pushing back
No
and
way.
potentially putting veracity in
flash
that
hook?
spot. Well, hang on.
Yeah, Castiel has to scatter the weak. He's actually fine. That's kind of a waste
He
of a
doesn't even flash. Yeah, well played there from Castle. He doesn't even need to expend the flashes now. Banana Bread kind of put on a timer, right? I think that this is now Pentaflex's chance to potentially push this Jinx in, maybe look for a chunk, maybe look for some health onto this Jinx who is alone. But instead, it is going to be Samuel roaming up to relieve pressure. But I don't think they can look for a fight here.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but I mean, Banana Bread is caught. Doesn't have flash available. Samuel not able to find anything else, and Karthus even in the area, but despite all of the Avengers rolling up, there is nothing to be found in this mid lane. Grub spawning soon, and you would have to assume that Karthus has a little bit more priority over them than Ivern. We'll have to see how it plays out once they actually move towards that top side, though. Castiel needs to reset. Sorry, go on.
No. I wasn't going to say anything, but I guess now it is just going to be... I guess now it is just going to have to be Phoenix continuing, like you said, Drake, to going for that power farm on this Karthus, this is something that I really feel like Xora need to put a stop to. They need to try and get vision on this Karthus, because if you allow this pick to simply free farm, you know, get to that 2 to 3 item spike, get those Dark Harvest procs like this champion loves to do, you're basically going to be asking for you to get completely destroyed in the late game, and you add in the ornaments, and it just gets worse, right? The late game scaling from Pentaflex is absolutely insane here. Shrubber potentially in trouble.
Oh, the hook comes out. Can you really follow up under the turret, though? Yeah, Scrubber is going to be able to find his way out. Castiel gets flashed on by Eliminate. Oh, Aliman does find the follow-up as well with his Nico. Bait Time gets his pay out in the mid lane. A free kill to this Nico, and another kill for the side of Xora.
And again, Banana Bread is on this mid lane. He is not playing toward this Jinx, but I almost feel like you want to play toward this pick. This is a pick that you got a super early lead on, has a kill, has the Cole in inventory, wants to get as much CS as possible, but how can you get CS when you are perma 1v2 in the lane? So I really want to see this Nautilus sort of index and remain in this bot lane with how much of an advantage this Jinx pick has gotten them so far, because I feel like he's taking it for granted. I feel like he's constantly roaming in the mid lane, constantly leaving Veneracity at the mercy of this Pentaflex bot lane, which is not good. This is champion you want in the late game.
Yeah, it definitely is, but obviously she has time. You know, the game will scale. She has time to catch up, but I mean, at what cost? Karthus is going to be quite strong once it actually gets towards the later stages as well, so it's definitely a case of you want to get the Jinx as accelerated as possible, especially before Karthus becomes a behemoth. Syndra is one-shotting your ADC. Senna is autoing you from Narnia. Like, it is on a timer for the side of Xora, as you were saying. And Pentaflex very happy with the game state at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they are down 2 kills, but they did manage to get one Grub Phoenix, just sneaking that one away. It doesn't really take much time to take one of those. It really is the shield that makes them a nuisance, but for the most part, Dragon is spawned, and I have to imagine that Pentaflex really want to play for the Dragons, right? They have a scaling comp. Dragon is a scaling objective. 2 equals 2, essentially, for Pentaflex to take this. We'll have to see how they rotate around it, but Castle in a pickle.
He's just caught. That's a horrible position to find yourself in. Why were you walking into 3 members? You saw them on the map. You got deleted. Banana Bread did secure the kill for himself. Nautilus feeds himself in this situation. And yeah, massive misstep from Castiel there. A little bit of a brain fart, I guess.
Yeah, no TP, no flash, but I mean, look at the priority in this bot lane. There is a huge wave pushing in, which is completely going to zone this Jinx off of the fight. So could potentially be a 3v3 here for both teams. And we'll have to see as Elemen continuing to hit the Dragon, but Daisy is taking more and more damage, so that is not as prevalent. But they're going in.
Yeah, and Jinx is moving up. Banana Bread is taken low. The flash away does buy himself safety for now. So many low members on the side
Phoenix
of Pentaflex. One is down, a second to follow. Syndra is here, actually. Does find quite a bit of damage onto the enemy team. Castiel should end up taking down another. No, it will be Senna securing that one. And it is another trade of kills for both of these teams. Pentaflex do find their way back into that one, though.
Yeah, Pentaflex, they are the ones taking the short end of the stick in that trade as Phoenix goes down, not even really given a chance to survive the fight, because this is a Karthus that didn't take flash, so you have to be really careful of your positioning on this pick. And yeah, Xora taking full advantage of the flashless Karthus, taking full advantage of the flashless Syndra as well earlier in the fight, and just netting themselves more and more kills, more and more gold. But not able to take the Dragon, crucially. That remains untaken by both teams, and it is still an option for Pentaflex if they try to continue playing for that late game, continue going for these Dragons.
Yeah, and we were talking about the Wombo combination for the side of Xora, right? We were talking about how much of a bouncy castle they can emulate with the Ivern, with the Nautilus, right? With all of these champions. Wait, Nautilus finds a hook in the mid lane. Nico nearly one-shots Castiel. Castiel does find... Oh, he gets sniped from downtown. Vindicility absolutely killing it in this bot lane. Really well played. 300 gold to her name at this point. A massive Jinx.
Yeah, Vindicility super juiced up on this pick. I felt like that rocket was the one seed where you expect a character to shoot another character that's on the ground, and then out of nowhere someone comes up right behind and shoots the character with a gun. That was such a random rocket, but I am all here for it. Xora Esports biting back here in game 2.
Yeah, really well played from them, and I was already talking about how good their composition is. Obviously, that last fight before Jinx absolutely took Castiel's head off, Nautilus was already doing so much CC and knocking up Phoenix, right? Got Samuel caught in the crossfire as well, and he didn't even have ultimate yet. This champion is going to be so much more influential in these team fights, and now that he does have the ultimate available, I mean, these team fights are going to be so difficult for Pentaflex to navigate. We were talking about mechanics having to be on point for Xora, but I definitely think Pentaflex just lose every team fight if Nautilus presses R and they're not playing well enough.
Yeah, and I mean, Nautilus being able to lock down someone does make way for champions like the Nico and the Jinx to just continue on free firing. While we are paying attention to the Nautilus, you can never really count out the Pot Blossom damage, right? Especially with that alternator in hand for the Nico, soon to get their first item, who has remained relatively untouched in this game. Obviously, Pentaflex managed to get 1 kill onto it, but 2, 1, and 3, that is a Nico that you cannot scoff at. You have to pay respects to. And it just makes it, like you said, Drake, so hard for Pentaflex to navigate these team fights around so many priority targets that Xora have juiced up and made prevalent in this game too.
Yeah, I mean, you have everybody ahead that you want to be ahead, right? Nico can absolutely one-shot anybody she wants. Jinx is deleting people with her minigun as well. And, I mean, Aatrox is, like you're mentioning, untouched is this Nico. Untouched is this Aatrox in this top side, truly. CS is nearly even. Right, your Aatrox is going to be able to side lane against Asterius well enough. And when you have 2 massive damage threats on the enemy team, along with all of the sustain that comes from Nautilus and Ivern, like you said, these team fights become so hard to navigate. We were worried about the middle game coming out from the side of Pentaflex, but I think at this point, Xora are absolutely controlling the pace of this game, and moving towards the later stages, they should be securing more and more objectives.
Yeah, and I mean, this is kind of the cost. You know, as Pentaflex, you want to get to the late game. And one thing that we touched on, one thing that would make the late game so much better for Pentaflex was those ornaments, right? But you have put this Ornn in support. It's going to be a long time before this pick goes on to level 13. And it's going to be even slower for this pick to continue leveling up, continuing to give ornaments to various other teammates. So Pentaflex, they're going to have to consider the long con here for this game if they want to maximize their damage output in the late game, because this Ornn is not dinging those ornaments anytime soon. And Xora Esports are just continuing to plow through this game and make it more and more of an impossibility for that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, really well played. It's a stark difference from the last game that we watched, right? I mean, there was a point, at least, in the last game that Xora was in control, but I feel like they're definitely playing a lot more reserved this game, making sure to shore up on a lot of the mistakes that they made and misstepping a lot less. Obviously, you saw Castiel, that's the most prevalent mistake from this game, in my opinion, was the walk into the river brush. Oh, yeah. A little bit of confidence still coming out from Pentaflex, but it looks like the jitters have been shaken off for now by Xora, and a lot more cohesive gameplay coming out from them.
Yup, as Grubs started up by Xora Esports, Element does have the Moonstone Renewer in hand. Most of the Fed members of Xora are now getting their first item. Crucially, Vindicality does have that Kraken Slayer. Now, this is something worth talking about here as a... Oh, hang on. As a... oh, Vindicality.
Samuel, you walked into your death, man?
Well, he's surrounded.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no, Vindicality. Oh, no. He thought... Ornn ult came in, and he thought Ornn ult was going to come back out, so he dodged. But it obviously wasn't because he killed the Ornn. He didn't really... fair enough. The high-stress situation, obviously, a Karthus and a Senna bearing down on you probably had to use flash anyways, but yeah, a little bit of a funny misstep there. Really well played, though. I mean, Ornn, what were you... you don't win those, man.
Yeah, I think he might have thought that Flayed was a little bit closer into the fight than he was. But yeah, it is just going to be another kill picked up for Vindicality, but crucially, has that Kraken Slayer available, right? This is something that I want to touch on a little bit while we wait for this dragon to spawn in about 35 seconds here. That Kraken has been heavily nerfed for ADCs that stack full damage. It is a little bit kinder to champions like the Viego and non-marksmans or marksmen like Kindred who don't build pure damage, but you're on Jinx. Your job is literally to build damage and full send it on that stat as much as possible. So later on in the game, this Kraken not going to prove as useful, not going to be as useful as it really lost a lot of its scaling potential with that attack damage scaling being removed. So we'll have to wait and see how that affects Xora Esports, but for now, this Shinx eating good, Dragon coming up, and I don't know, I don't think Pentaflex can contest this. They are on the top side for the most part.
Yeah, and Ivern and Nautilus are just absolutely dominating their jungle. I'm sure this will go over towards the side of Xora. As most things have in this game, 7 kills to 2, a massive gold lead as well. Obviously, we were talking about CS in the top side being relatively even. It's relatively even across the board, but kills are telling a very different story, as well as obviously the second Dragon going over. Dragon Soul is so influential, it always has been, but I feel like this season...
Oh, Paytime!
A big flash ward from Paytime does find the knock-up onto 2. Phoenix is deleted. Rainclouds is trying to get any stacks he can. Oh my gosh, where did the Nico go? Karthasult comes out. Rainclouds actually turns the fight towards the top half of that river. Banana Bread trying to get in, but the Rift Herald is secured by the side of Pentaflex. They will not win the fight, however. No, here they are. The reinforcements are here. Rainclouds is dead, but Samuel and Outplayed are here trying to outplay. Vindicality is here to outplay. Outplay, in fact. Double kill getting picked up. Samuel will fall. That will be a third. And Jinx is scaling into the team fight. Elyman should be able to follow up a little bit further. Flash forward. The Q doesn't quite land. Vindicality is no longer excited, and I don't think there should be anything else to pick up here.
Woohoo! Outplay gets him.
Yeah, so much damage coming out from both of these damage dealers. But 7-0 Jinx. What a massive play for the side of Xora.
And although Xora managed to win that fight, major credit, I think, to Pentaflex. They managed to turn that initial engage around off of the back, really, of Rainclouds on this Darius, who managed to soak up so much damage and get a kill onto himself. It took a lot out of Xora to bring him down. So this Darius starting to scale up with that Trinity Force and those plated steel caps in hand. But unfortunately, just not able to really leave the laning phase. Both of these top laners have been stuck on that top side, and this Darius needs to get out of there if they want a chance at bringing this Jinx down. But so far, they are not able to do so. This Aatrox and Darius just remaining in a time capsule in top lane, remaining in an island in top lane, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult, right? Because I think Scrubbert obviously is very, very happy to keep the Darius there permanently. And if Darius leaves, because he doesn't have TP, the turret will most likely fall. Scratch that, Banana Bread is in a little bit of danger. Does have to hook the wall, and, you know, not taking that much damage from the Senna. Luckily, able to walk his way out of that one. But even as you see Rainclouds trying to... Oh, go on.
Nope, go on.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, even as you see Rainclouds trying to find something onto Scrubbert, it's a very safe lane for this Aatrox. He has TP. He can make it to fights whenever he wants. So it is just a case of keeping that Darius there as long as humanly possible and keeping him out of these team fights.
Yeah, and crucially, I think it is worth talking about that Scrubbert is going to be going that Sundered Sky build, so no lethality coming out. But Scrubbert TPing in the back line.
Huge hook, huge ultimate from the Nautilus. Banana Bread finds CC on Outplayed. Outplayed is nearly taken down by
Paytime in the back line.
Won't quite die, but Cassiel is going to fall on the opposite side. 2 kills picked up already. Aatrox gets a double kill, finally finding his way into this game. 3-1. A massive play for the side of Xora.
Yeah, major props to Banana Bread and Scrubbert there. That was a beautiful engage from the top laner and support. They split up the entirety of Pentaflex so unbelievably well. And Paytime was just busy with 2 of the surviving members. But he's just dead. Phoenix goes down. And Xora Esports are going hard here in game 2.
Yeah, misstep after misstep coming out. Oh, and another misstep indeed. Pentaflex finally get one back. Really well played by Rainclouds to be able to secure something. Finally, in this top side, he's probably had quite enough of being in this side lane. And definitely gives something to show for it.
Yep, manages to get the turret along with it, so this Darius will finally be able to roam up in these fights, and this has to be something that Xora need to keep track of, right? I do think that they have the potential to really kite this Darius out, but when he has Ghost and Flash, and, you know, eventually these ornaments coming in as Ornna's digging closer and closer to that level 13 mark, being able to upgrade his teammates, you have to be careful. You have to make sure that you keep track of this pick at all times, make sure he's not going for something like a flank, and potentially killing your backline, because it really is just a question of how well can you keep Vindicality alive.
Well, I know who isn't going to be kept alive right now, and that is Banana Bread. He's deleted a really I guess well played Rome coming out from Rain Clouds. The Nautilus did not expect anyone to be there that early. And I mean, River is now dominated by the side of Pentaflex. That should be, honestly, the Dragon going over. But it does look like a little bit of cheese coming out from Xora.
Yeah, I mean, they're all in that bush, but Pentaflex are saying, we don't really want the Baron. I think they were anticipating that move, but they just take the tower, and a fight is broken out.
Big knock-up onto 2 tanks, however. Samuel is taken low, not quite dead yet. Darius is sustaining. Scrubber is sustaining much more, though.
Oh, they got Rain Clouds.
Both top laners down. Rain Clouds is dead. Phoenix is dead. Samuel on the back foot does get taken down by the Jinx, and it will be a triple kill for the side of Xora, and trading it for only 1. Oh, looking for a 4th. Castiel does get taken down. A triple kill for Jinx. 4, 5, make it 5, make it an ace for Xora. And they don't even know where to go. They have so many objectives to take, but they've absolutely popped off, and the map is theirs.
Yeah, Xora now 3k gold ahead. They find a clean ace. They destroy the entirety of Pentaflex, and they claim the Dragon Soul. This squad coming up huge in Game 2. They said Game 1 was a fluke. We're here to play, and they are proving it here.
Yeah, and I mean, Viniculity obviously is the shining star of this one, doing so much damage, absolutely popping off in all of these team fights. But I think the shadow that's being emanated from that shining star is definitely paytime in the backlines with these ultimate abilities.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely popping off, making all of these plays happen, doing really, really well to facilitate his team. 9 assists on this Nico. Really well played from that mid laner.
Yep. And Xora, they want more. They are looking to just invade the jungle of Pentaflex. And they're actually just going to straight up start up the Baron. I feel like this is a bit of a risky move, but you have to remember, this is a flashless Karthus, right? He can't just flash over the wall and try to steal it. But he has the next best thing. The Blast Cone is available. Could try to take it.
And it is a 5v4. Darius obviously in that bottom side.
Yeah.
Samuel looking for something, but the Iron pushes are so influential on this team fight. And another engage coming up from Banana Bread. A knock up. Samuel P in the bouncy castle. Karthus in the grave. Castiel knocked up in the back line. Paytime looking for something. Karthus does end up getting the kill onto the Nico, but his mid laner will die. His ADC will surely follow. Not quite, actually. The Ghost does end up coming out. And Darius doesn't find anything else in this bottom side. Jinx is currently mowing down the enemy team with 3,000 gold in her back pocket.
Yeah, 12-0-7. Vindicality coming up big here in Game 2 and establishing himself as a dominant AD carry in the Dominate League. It seems almost fitting as they continue to march down with these Baron-empowered minions. So much peel coming out from this Jinx, but Pentaflex want more.
Yeah, I mean, surely they can eliminate Ellie Man. I don't know if they were able to catch up to this Jinx, though. Banana Bread trying to sacrifice himself. No, he actually sends his Jinx to the wayside. He just lets him die. No more abilities available for this Nautilus. Vindicality is found in the grave, and that's 2 kills actually claimed back by Pentaflex. A good way to claim something off the back of, honestly, a couple of horrible, horrible plays.
Yeah, I mean, Pentaflex have been struggling here in this game. They managed to find a few members of Xora, but they still have Baron, right? These are still minions that are incredibly tanky, hard to knock down. And Xora Esports are still a difficult team to engage on, so they can probably just hold this line in spite of those takedowns that Pentaflex got. And so far, despite all of that has happened, it's still Xora Esports coming up big and remaining in the driver's seat uncontested here in Game 2.
It's actually crazy to me that the gold difference is only about 4K. I'm actually very confused how it's so little. I mean, obviously 10 kills advantaged towards Xora. They have 3 dragons. Like, it must just be tower gold and I guess like passive farming gold as well, because it does look like Pentaflex are farming slightly better. So, I mean, they're maintaining a position in this game, right? The game is not quite out of hand, but is definitely getting to that point as it gets further and further along, because this Jinx is facilitated to the max in these team fights.
Yeah, absolutely. This Jinx, when a team is surrounding it, is nigh unkillable, right? There is nothing that anyone on Pentaflex can do to really get toward that backline, because one kill and suddenly this Jinx, along with having the Ghost, has 5 million billion movement speed. and it's just outrunning your entire team, running literal circles around you. So it's going to have to come off of a pick, I think, onto one of the members of Xora Esports, but they have been doing such a good job of warding that a pick seems super unlikely at this point.
Yeah, although a pick doesn't look like it's quite on the horizon for Pentaflex, I know the Dragon is. Obviously, this is a massive one for the side of Xora if they're able to secure it. Hextech Soul is hugely influential in these team fights. A little bit of cheese coming out from the side of Pentaflex. They don't find anything, though. Castiel needs to be careful.
Look at Paytime on the side.
Yeah, he's a little bit overextended, if I'm being honest. Paytime, is he just going to one-shot Syndra? No, they do end up spawning him out. Really well played. Samuel also caught in the middle of multiple members. It's a very split fight. Paytime does not quite get deleted. Samuel is knocked up. He's CC'd. He has to flash away. No members of either team dead yet, but a lot of abilities already expended. Castiel doesn't have ultimate available. Samuel doesn't have flash. He's making an item in the middle of the bush. And it does look like Scrubbert is holding the line. 5 members of Pentaflex charging forward. They get a little bit more in this river. But will they be able to find anything in this fight? A TP coming out from Nico. And it's so much posturing. Obviously, the Dragon hasn't even spawned yet. Banana Bread knocked up. The Ornn actually tossing him to the other side of the wall. Saves his life a little bit. Watch out from Eliman. A knock up onto Rain Clouds. A huge engage coming out. Ornn trying to disengage as much as possible. Rain Clouds is still alive. How is he living so long? But the pop time. The Nico finds 3 knockups. It's 3 kills as well. Picked up for her team. And surely the Dragon should end up going over. Hextech Soul for Xora.
Yeah, Paytime with a worldly death there manages to find 3, and after such an intense waiting game from both teams, it is Xora coming up big, but Phoenix, you are over.
Scrubbert on the wall. Well played, and I mean, there's no way to get into the river at this point. Yeah, the Dragon is dead. Karthus ultimate doesn't even look like it's doing any damage at this point. Really, really well played from Xora, and they're just riding the momentum, riding the pace of this game because they are definitely determined.
Yeah, Xora coming back with a vengeance here in game 2. Baron has expired, but they have the soul. And now we're just going to have to wait and see how they try to close this game out because the ball is really in their park. The biggest thing that I think they can do is just mess it up. I really don't think that Pentaflex have a way of coming back into this game, minus maybe like a lucky Baron steal coming out from Phoenix, or a pick onto Vindicality from Raincloud. Minus those 2 possibilities, I really think unless Xora mess up majorly, the game is essentially theirs, and we are going to game 3, which is so exciting to see here in week 1 of Dominate League. Love to see close matches, especially on teams that are relatively unknown, right? We have talked about it a couple of times, but these players, these teams are not familiar with Dominate, and Dominate is not familiar with them. So to see these new upcomers really punch through in this first week, despite the pressure, despite whatever they may be feeling, is super exciting, not just for this week, but for the future of Dominate and how many weeks are to come.
Yeah, it's really good to see that they're putting on display their full extent of their abilities here. Obviously, it's very easy to have nerves in the first game of your season. Rain Clouds, it's just gonna back away. Yeah, so it's good to see. Obviously, these teams are firing on all cylinders, despite it being their first game. Probably massive nerves, honestly. For some of them, it could be their first streamed game as well. So, really, really good to see that they're putting on a really good show for us here. And I mean, talking about a show, Paytime finding a route with his Ivern. Rain Clouds does get engaged upon, has to ghost away. A good TP coming out from the Aatrox, and Scrubbert is here with his team in the river, dominating this area of the map. And they should just be able to secure the Baron, but it doesn't look like Pentaflex are going to go down without a fight. Banana Bread trying to hold the line. Scrubbert moving as well. Baron taken low, about half HP. And it does look like...
They're just pushing down mid.
Yeah. Pentaflex just going to try and push down mid. I'm not sure they can get much. I mean, maybe the inhibitor.
No,
not even the inhibitor turret. Yeah, they have to back away. I mean, getting something, obviously, when you have to lose an objective is a good idea. So, I mean, at least they secured something in that situation. But this is a massive Xora team.
Yeah, Xora managing to get the Baron. Pentaflex, they managed to, hold the line. They managed to get themselves a turret, some gold back. But at the end of the day, it is going to be Xora winning out on that trade. And you can see Paytime, as the TP available on the Nico, is just going to go to the top lane. Curiously enough, that tier 1 top turret on the red team has still not been taken. So that is some free gold for Xora to take. And, you know, every little bit of gold counts, and I'm sure Pentaflex are starting to live by that motto at this point, as they have been behind for so long and are just desperate to try and get any little bit of scraps that they can until the next team fight.
Yeah, they're definitely counting their pennies over on this side, and Paytime making a few pennies in that top side, like you said. Crazy that Darius was able to keep that turret alive for so long. He really was keen on that. Probably a little depressed that it finally ended up falling. But yeah, I mean, once again, I feel like it is this Nautilus, this Ivern, even Scrubbert as well, playing the front line, really deterring the enemy team from entering whatsoever. Phoenix, Castiel, and Outplayed all just kept at bay. They can't possibly reach into the enemy backline. And it's so difficult when you're obviously playing through that front line, and there's an eco lying in wait around the side.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Paytime really has been the unsung hero, I think, of every single fight. These Pop Blossoms have come up big every single time. I don't think he has gotten less than, you know, 2 people in every Pop Blossom. He has always managed to get more than 1 person, which is really big, right? It is a huge team fight disruptor and something that Xora have been constantly utilizing, like they will now as they engage the fight.
Yeah, speaking about a team fight, it does look like the Ornn is dead. Castiel is dead. One more is sure to follow. The Pop Blossom doesn't quite find 2 that time, but it finds a Karthus in the grave, and it looks like Senna has to flash away. The Darius is dead. It's an ace. It's a clean ace for the side of Xora, ending it the exact same way that the last game was ended against them. They're going to even out the scoreline. They're going to bring it 1-1 in this series, and we're going to watch 3 games tonight in the first series that we've seen from this season of Risen Dominate.
Yep, 16-1-10. Vindicality making a statement game on this Jigs. What an exciting one from him. And I cannot wait to see what we are in store for with the future of him in Game 3. There's so much potential for both of these teams. Both of them have shown up so big in this series. And it's going to come to a head, right? All that has been building up is going to come to a head in Game 3, where we will decide a winner. And honestly, even if, you know, obviously one team has to lose, but I think both teams should be incredibly proud of what they have displayed here in this series. Both have come up super big, punched right out of the gate. And it's really exciting to see. And if this is the constant for Dominate, if this is how all the other teams and all the other matches are going to be, we have such an exciting season on our hands, you and I, Drake. I cannot wait to see it.
Yeah, honestly, I'm so excited for the season. This is definitely showing that we're going to get a bit of a good one. And Vindicality, like you said, absolutely popping off. I mean, 16-1-10, literally participating in every kill besides 4 in that game.
Yeah, that's huge.
It's absolutely insane. I mean, obviously, Ivern doing the same thing, participated in 26 kills as well, but you'd kind of expect that from your jungler, from a support champion as well. But yeah, the absolutely massive play from this Jinx. Every champion on that team, on the side of Xora, definitely firing on all cylinders, being on the same page, and it was really, really good to see. A couple of missteps, so in Game 3, there's room for either of these teams to be able to win, and that's exactly what I love to see in a good series.
Yeah, and before we go on to a break, Drake, I just want to say, man, like 90% KP, if that is the norm for a jungle, I deserve to be in Iron here. I am absolutely floored at the jungle performances, but man, if that is the norm for junglers to go off of, then
in 5v5.
I am incredibly washed, but neither of these teams are willing to back down or give up in week 1. They are coming out with knives drawn and teeth bared, and we are going to see the conclusion of this epic series. But right before that, we are going to go to a small little break, so don't go anywhere. We have the Game 3 match point coming up for you guys. See you soon.
Hello, everybody. We're live once again. It's me, Drake. It's Quacks. We are in a crazy series at the moment. I don't know if you guys are tuning in now, but if you are, it's 1-1. It's honestly, it might as well be a best of one at this point. Xora, Pentaflex, they both won quite dominantly in their games. Both teams absolutely coming online when they needed to, and honestly, quite contentious games throughout the the duration of the game. Like obviously Xora had moments that they were losing in the game that they won, and similarly for Pentaflex. So we're in for kind of a banger for our last one. I'm expecting at least 40 minutes, massive team fights, insane gameplay. Quacks, are you excited for this one?
Oh yeah, I think that both teams have really shown up big in this first week, which is super exciting to see, not just for the week, but also as the Dominate League will continue to roll on. I think you can really count these teams in to always give you a show like they have given us here today, and hopefully like they are going to give you as the series commences into Game 3. Pentaflex opting for the blue side this time around, so Xora Esports going to be put on the red team. And yeah, I think, like you said, Drake, we are expected to see a lot of scrapping, a lot of fighting like we have, and a lot of team play. I think that that is something we haven't quite really touched on as much as the individuals, is that the teams and how they have been playing fights, both of them have been doing it really well. We saw a lot of that from Xora Esports last game. So many good engages on the Nico, so much protection for the Jinx, so much frontline and engage coming out from the Nautilus and Aatrox was seen in game 2, and overall we've seen the same thing happen from Pentaflex in game 1, and I am expecting team fights to really be the name of the game in this all important game 3, and how the teams are going to accrue leads through team fights is going to be the question, I think.
Yeah, I mean 100%. And the drafts are a mystery as we slowly get into our next one. I mean, we know that there's a lot of things to ban, right? We know that there were multiple things that were absolutely influential for both of these teams in the last games.
Mhm.
And now there's 2 games, right? So now there's at least 2 champions on each game that you're like, okay, that champion's kind of broken. Like we weren't able to play against it. We need to ban it, right? And you only have 3 bans. So it gets very difficult. This is where the draft gets really wacky. This is where hopefully we see some Pentaway flexes coming out from Pentaflex,
Oh yeah.
and some crazy stuff as we see the first ban going to come out from Pentaflex. They have
Yep.
24 more seconds, but I mean, what do you think that they should be prioritizing in this one?
Probably just going to stick to more of the same. I would expect a Karma to be banned. They are taking away the Aatrox. Pentaflex really paying respect up toward that top side. That Aatrox was really influential. And curiously enough, we're not going back to our usual bans. We are actually just firing away at problems that we have seen throughout the series of Seraphine taken off the table as well.
There you go.
There's the Karma going in for ban number 3.
It
And
is just
yeah,
broken.
yeah, it is just a broken champion, but also a lot of support's going to probably be taken off the table as
Yep,
well.
there you go.
Alistar, maybe we'll see the removal of the Thresh, potentially the Rakan as well.
Mm.
I think that a lot of these engage supports have been the thing for both of these support players. They really have been proficient on these engage supports. The Rakan, the Nautilus, all of these things have seemed really good in this series. They've seemed really comfortable on those picks in particular. I would expect engage supports to be banned away as we conclude this phase, but they are going to ban away the Ivern. Now it is just a question of what Xora want to ban for this last one.
Varus. I mean, taking a few really objectively powerful picks away, right? Maokai
Mhm.
gonna be picked up from Pentaflex. This is an interesting one. Obviously, they are a flex team, but their support plays quite a bit of Maokai as well. So, I mean, it could be towards the jungle role, but it also has quite a high probability of being played in that support role. And that leaves Xora with a kind of a sticky situation where they need to maybe blind jungle, maybe blind support, but they're not actually sure which one they're doing. So, a really powerful pick for B1.
Yep, and it is going to be a rel response coming out here for Xora Esports. We saw this in game 1, and although it had its moments, it really felt like it wasn't there to really be able to shine. But Rel might be able to shine this game, as it is being paired up with an Orianna, so Xora Esports already coming up with a wombo combo from the mid-jungle duo here in game 3. And that's just exactly what we talked about, Drake. You know, team play, wombo combos, being able to play the fights as,
No.
cleanly as possible is the idea. But I think Pentaflex might have a different idea, as they are going with the Xerath pickup here. Another flex pick, but a champion that is very easily punished, I feel, from a champion like Rel, and one that I'm not really sure I like being blind picked. It feels like this champion can get caught out so easily, and already Xora Esports have a lot of tools to catch said Xerath champion out.
Yeah, I mean they definitely do already, right? And well, I was looking at these players, right? And Castiel is a bit of a Xerath one trick, a bit of a dirty, dirty Xerath one trick. So opting for comfort in the last game of the series. And it's like we said, this is their first series of dominate, right? This is their first season in Risen that we've casted. So they're gonna be going towards things that maybe we're not as comfortable seeing or stuff that we don't see as often. And you know, you're backs to the wall. You're in game 3. You lost the last game, and you guys had such a dominant performance in the first one. Leaning towards comfort is pretty common. So we also see the Jhin coming out. We see Nocturne being picked up by Xora, and I feel like it is going to be one of those games where we see people delve deeper into their champion pools, deeper into stuff that they have in their back pocket, rather than necessarily just what's objectively good.
Yeah, one of the perks about having, all of these champions that were, seen in the previous 2 games being banned away in this third and all important one is that some of those comfort picks, some of those, champions that are deeper in the pockets of these players get to be seen. And so far, I'm really liking what I'm seeing from both teams, really indexing into more unorthodox picks like the Jhin. I think the Nocturne is really keeping up with the theme that Xora Esports are going for, which is heavy team fighting, really relying on that shockwave to be the big, sort of facilitator for a lot of these fights. And as we move through the ban phase, it is most likely just going to be mid laners focused down by Xora Esports here. But curiously enough, mid has been picked up by Xora Esports, so they are not getting that banned away against them. Instead, they are going to be focused by the top lane as Pentaflex banning away that Ornn. Curious to see if they'll maybe ban away another lane bully, right? I feel like we have seen a lot of action toward the top side, a lot of action, a lot of infighting. And so maybe a lane bully like the Darius taken away. Yep, Darius already banned away actually. As,
Maybe like Mordekaiser, or like you were saying,
yeah,
Olaf. Yeah.
Olaf
Oh,
maybe taken away, but Draven is the answer. They are going to pivot and ban away the ADC.
interesting. And there's no way it's an MF. I mean, he does play a lot of Twitch, so I wouldn't be too surprised by that
I
pick.
like this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the Twitch. It's good with Nocturne as well. Kaisa, standard very well with Rel. Obviously, they have a lot of options at their disposal. We also don't know where Nocturne's going at the moment. It can be played top. It's not good, but it can, right? So there's a lot of options available to them. The MF is good with the Nocturnal, but it will be the Jinx overall. It did absolutely pop off in the last game, so I'm not surprised that they lean back towards that. Rel Nocturne combination very, very strong in these team fights, like you were saying with the Rel E. You're just able to CC the backline, and honestly, they don't have that many problems dealing with a Xerath with the Jhin. So it's up to Pentaflex and what they end up drafting from here, and how they're able to really deal with this Nocturne, deal with this Jinx, and honestly keep up with the pace that Xora has drafted in their 4 champions at the moment.
Yeah, and it looks like Pentaflex are going to continue opting for a little bit of a more aggressive style here, picking up the sets. I'm not entirely sure I like this pick. I feel like Stet is not a champion you should enjoy blind picking. And it also feels like it goes against the theme that Pentaflex have been drafting here, which is heavy poke, right? You have Jhin, you have Xerath, you have Maokai. These are long range. These are champions that have long ranged abilities that can really hit you from afar. But Set is a champion that loves to go in. He loves to get in your face. And Vi is a champion that loves to go in and get in your face. And that's what Pentaflex are going to draft for their last pick. So that does mean it is going to be a Maokai bot lane and a Xerath in the mid lane. But now it is going to be Xena Esports and what they pick for this last all-important champion in the top lane.
No way, it's Yone. No
Oh, I
way.
actually think it could be cool if it's
Malphite.
Yone. Ooh, this is a wombo combo for the ages if they lock this one in, and it will be Xora Esports. 5v5s are the name of the game here for Xora Esports, and I love how heavily they have indexed into that style of play. They have made their draft and their plan known and saying, come at me, Pentaflex. I dare you, because we are 5 members strong with incredibly scary ultimates and an incredibly scary wombo combo to follow.
Yeah, that wombo combo is terrifying. A very unorthodox draft on the side of Pentaflex as well. It will be set going towards that top side as far as I know. A little bit of a comfort pick for the top winner of Pentaflex, but it's still, like you said, a bit unorthodox, a bit, I would say detached from each other. These champions aren't quite cohesive. It's an interesting one. Obviously, Maokai works well with saplings and then Jin W, but it's going to be a little bit more of a difficult comp to execute, definitely. And obviously, Pentaflex did lose the last one, so keeping their heads cool, keeping the ability to be able to find those picks and play safe otherwise is something that I would question whether it's as easily accessible for them as they think it is. But I mean, honestly, we've seen these two teams do very, very well against each other. We've seen them both make mistakes in the games that they've won. So it is going to come down to who has the better scaling, who's playing better around these objectives. And I definitely feel like there is a chance for Pentaflex in the early game, right? Vi does really well in the early game. Xerath is not bad when it comes to his damage. Maokai, a pretty decent roamer on the support role. So there is a chance for them to maybe make impacts in the early game, and maybe they're able to accelerate that and turn that into a lead that affects the later stages of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there is a window for Pentaflex to really play their comp, but like you said, their comp feels super detached. I mean, when Vi goes into a comp like this, who is going to be able to follow up? If Jin and Xerath walk even one step too close to a Malphite, a Nocturne, an Orianna, a Rel, they're just going to get blown up. They don't have any innate mobility. They have no way to get out of being caught if that should be the case. So it really feels like this is a split comp coming from Pentaflex and a much more cohesive comp coming out from Xena Esports. But comp is not everything, right? You know, if Pentaflex at the end of the day, they have better hands, they have better macro play, if they play the match better, then they will be the ones to be victorious. But I think that in terms of game 3, I really heavily favor the Xena Esports comp that has really made an effort to go all in and really just straight up brute force this game 3.
Yeah, I mean, Xora have drafted very well here. It is one of those ones where uh, obviously Pentaflex is just kind of picking whatever they want, and Zora's like, okay, well, you're going to give us this massive wombo combo. We're going to get every champion we hoped for, and we're going to absolutely delete you. So it is a case of shutting down this jinx, I think, of making sure that Orianna doesn't end up coming online. We saw in the first game what happens when an Orianna comes online. Obviously, that was in Pentaflex's hands, but this game, they have to be very careful, not let her absolutely one-shot people. Nocturne even an absolute force to be reckoned with if he does get ahead. So a lot of things to be afraid of when you're playing against the Xora team comp. And I really am interested to see whether they're able to execute this rel a lot better in this composition versus the first one, because that is where I maybe think the biggest pressure point was for Xora in the game that they ended up playing that rel earlier.
Yeah, and I think another really big thing for this rel pickup is going to be how well you peel this jinx. I mean, there are still a lot of tools I think that Pentaflex have, you know, namely the Maokai Twisted Advance is really scary for a jinx to deal with. How well you peel off threats from this jinx is really going to determine the damage level that Xora Esports can deal in these team fights. I feel like if they somehow manage to eliminate jinx, that's like 50% of your damage. If you eliminate that one target, then it becomes significantly easier for Pentaflex to simply out-damage Xora Esports. But it's just getting to that jinx is tough, and I think it is going to hinge on if Rel can be the peel rather than the engage, because you already have plenty of engage if you're Xora Esports. You have to have a dedicated person to get threats off of this jinx's backs and let her simply free fire, which is what we saw in game 2. They did that beautifully in game 2. I think if they can repeat that same success in game 3, they should have no problem. But Pentaflex, on the other hand, probably want to play around this set, right? This is a champion that if you go into it, it's pretty dangerous to do so. And, you know, that Haymaker can deal a lot of damage. So I think that both of these teams clear win cons along with their identity. They have clear points of contention. And interestingly enough, they're on opposite sides of the map. So I think that's going to make for some really interesting cross-play game 3 sort of shenanigans here in this all-important match point. But while we wait for the teams to load up, while we wait for the spectator delay to kick in for us, the casters, we are going to take a small little break. So we will see you all on the other side for game 3 between Pentaflex and Xora Esports. We'll see you soon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Rift for the third and final time of tonight. My name is Drake. I'm joined by Quax, and we're here to watch Pentaflex take on Xora Esports for their final game, for the deciding game of this night. I'm so excited to see these two teams face off. The drafts have changed yet again. We've seen some comfort come out. We've seen some flexes come out, and it's going to be a Maokai in this support role as the only flex that I can see on my screen besides the Rel. I'm super excited for this. Quax, how you feeling, man?
I'm feeling really good, and I like what we are seeing from both teams here. 5 stacking instantly, not wanting to take a chance to go for an invade or get invaded themselves. They are simply watching to make sure that the other team doesn't try to lay down any kind of deep vision to track the junglers, who are both most likely going to be full clearing. You know, obviously Nocturne loves to full clear until he gets that level 6, and Vi also really wants that that cease and desist. I always get confused because they changed the name of the ultimate recently. But yeah, but both junglers wanting to hit level 6, and neither team really going to be able to get a key as to where each jungler started this early on in the game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Malphite did end up leashing, but there is a fake leash coming out from Vinicality and Banana Bread to account for that. That does mean that Nocturne is going to have a little bit of a quicker clear, so I wonder if that impacts anything later on. As you did say, they are doing opposite pathing. And yeah, it is just going to be a case of these two teams wanting to scale up to level 6 and then kind of flex their muscles. Obviously, all champions on both of the teams really benefit from having that level 6 ability. I would say maybe a little bit less so. Oh, never mind. It looks like an engage is coming out from Banana Bread, but that is the Maokai interaction with Rel. You're able to deny her from that engage by pressing Q. And it's kind of a 1-for-1 knock-up. Oh my gosh, so much damage coming out from Paytime in this mid lane. Castiel not doing nearly as much. I wouldn't have expected it to be this one-sided in the mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, the mid laners, both of them have, you know, a decent amount of poke, and so going at each other's throats really early on in the game here. Castiel already taken to about 2 bars of HP. Paytime, a little bit healthier, but still a little less than half HP, and you can already see the pings coming out from Phoenix, maybe trying to influence this mid lane, but Paytime does have the flash, so we'll have to see how likely that is.
But surely you force her to burn it here. Oh wow, we missed the Q. Oh, okay, she does have the flash because of the E, so it is a really good play coming out from the side of Pentaflex, and I mean, hey, free flash.
Yep, they managed to get the flash out of Paytime, out of Paytime, and he does have the TP, so we'll just TP back to lane, shove this wave in, probably going to trade a TP for Castiel, given that he is low on both health and mana as well. But yeah, both junglers going to continue doing their clears. Ellie-Man just finishing theirs, but a lot of damage in the bot lane. Samuel potentially in trouble.
Yeah, he has no ability to heal for now. Oh, a good engage coming in from Rel. Vinicality not quite gonna be able to pick that one up. He flashes forward for it, and it is an ignite onto the Rel, so it's a trade 1-for-1. OME is very... Oh my gosh, he's really, really advantaged in this position. Vinicality doesn't have flash available any further. Yeah, flash forward from Jin, the Q, the auto. It's a double kill for Outflayed in this bottom lane.
Yeah, Outflayed, managing to pick up the scraps of that 2v2. And on a champion like Jin, being able to get those 2 kills really does mean a lot. Most of the people credit Jin for being a rather weak side AD carry, you know, 2020 meta where a lot of ADCs picked up Jin to allow their jungler to roam away. And I think that 2 kills, you know, getting the gold that comes with that does help to really sustain yourself and potentially gives Samuel the ability to roam if he wants to try and get someone like Raincloud ahead, who we've already touched on as being super strong, has to be ahead on this set in order for it to work. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what Samuel does, and already roaming to the mid lane.
Yeah, there's already so many members of both of these teams in the mid lane. It looks like a party. Nocturne moving in because he wants a little bit of the action as well. And I mean, Castiel will just get this wave and nothing will actually happen. But it's just emphasizing just how much pressure needs to be put towards these lanes, especially on mages that are so immobile.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, with Paytime not having flash, the pressure is most likely going to resume from Pentaflex, I would like to imagine. Just trying to bully this Orianna more and more, make it more difficult for this champion to scale up, because that Shockwave really is going to be the catalyst and the conduit for a lot of these fights going forward. Getting a good Shockwave off can really turn the fight around in favor of Xena Esports
Banana Bread?
or Xena Esports is.
Oh, a
hold
good
on,
Q away,
Pix.
Samuel. He can't get over the wall. He's rooted. He's autoed, and he's outplayed. Gets another kill. That's 3 kills on the board for this Jhin.
Yup. And a little bit of a misplay there from Banana Bread. We talked about how important it is that you play toward your vision line in this game. And yeah, the consequences of not playing to where you have vision, playing where you don't have to deal with the fog of war, is stuff like death. And Banana Bread is going to learn that, as another kill going over to Flayed. All 3 kills from Pentaflex going over to this Jhin, so a lot of emphasis being put on this champion. And I would imagine that Phoenix probably wanting to play toward this bot side and maybe just let Raincloud be the weak side champion that he has been all series.
Yeah, you already see him moving into this bottom side, clearing out a little bit of vision, maybe gonna steal some camps. You know, the bottom side of the map is literally his playground. Samuel looking maybe to go for a dive. Jinx is gonna be rooted, gonna be knocked up, gonna be double knocked up. So much damage from the Xerath in as an artillery cannon. Oh, the Maokai will end up falling. And so it is a 1-for-1 for now. Phoenix actually on the back foot. No, Jhin ends up dying as well. Phoenix is gonna go down as well. It's an absolute tragedy for Xora. Sorry for Pentaflex. They've misstepped after misstepped. Luckily the Jhin was an execute, but that's horrible for what looked like such a good play originally.
Yeah, I mean, the dive looked pretty good, but at the end of the day, I feel like they just kind of mismanaged who should be tanking the tower shot. They misplayed their cooldowns. Not the end of the world, but it does equalize the gold lead perfectly for both teams. So essentially a clean slate coming out here for Xora Esports. And we'll have to see what they make of it. No objectives are on the board, but you can already see some roams coming out here from Eliman, who's trying to make a play work now that he does have the paranoia.
Yep, the shockwave comes out. The fear is in as well. Castiel doesn't have any more abilities to get away, but he won't quite fall. Phoenix doesn't have the ultimate available, or else he might have been able to pick up something crazy there, but it will be the 2 members of Xora walking away with their tail tucked between their legs.
Yep, they managed to get the flash out of Castiel, but they burn 2 ultimates in the process. And those are ultimates that are incredibly important for a team fight. Not only do they start the team fight, but they also provide a lot of damage and sort of soften Pentaflex up a little bit. But they are not going to have those. And those grubs will be spawning in about a couple of minutes here. So it's not the worst thing in the world for Xora, but they do need to keep in mind not to look for too many plays while those are down, because they're significantly weaker without those abilities to use.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, that is a massive play that happened in that bottom side. I don't think we emphasized quite enough what that meant for the game. Obviously, the champions that got the kills are super important for them to be getting the gold as well. So Jinx got infused with 2 kills, Nocturne got a kill as well. So it's definitely put them in a position where they are exactly equal, if not a little bit ahead, at least in the jungle role, right? So a very, very impactful play that happened in that bottom side, and it's going to be affecting these objectives like earlier as well, right? Nocturne was a level up on Vi just because of a slight XP increase. And we'll see those effects definitely bleed into these next objectives. And we'll see if Jinx is able to keep up with the Jhin in itemization, because for now, at least, it doesn't look like it's too far apart.
Yeah, and going back to this jungle here a little bit, I'm a little bit disappointed that Eliman isn't going to try and get a little deeper into the jungle of Phoenix. We have seen how many times this Vi has visited. Oh, Paytime, potentially in trouble.
I think Phoenix might be the one in trouble here. The Xerath is here to back up the Vi. The ultimate is enough. The blue buff helps out as well. Phoenix will end up falling for his sins, but Maokai's here, finds the root, finds the Q. Banana Bread's here to back up his jungler.
Blade is here.
Is CC'd. He's CC'd again. The ultimate comes out from Jinx. She keeps taking people's heads off. Aliman in the back line, outplayed, trying to outplay. He gets away for now. Castiel is not going to be able to support his his ADC much longer, but they do end up getting out of that situation. Overall, even trade across the board.
Yeah, I mean, Phoenix managing to find the, jump onto Paytime, but wasn't aware that there was a Nocturne right around the corner. Gets punished for that. And yeah, Vindicality finally managing to find some kills onto this Jinx to try and match this Jhin, who has been so influential in this game. You can see how the gold lead has affected this Jhin. He has the Ghost Blade already 10 minutes into the game. And it looks like with that lead, they know that this Jhin is super strong. They're just going to leave him on his lonesome, rotate right up to these grubs.
The level gap is so gross to look at. Vi's still level 6, Scrubber level 9, moves towards those grubs, and Vi just needs to walk away. I mean, he literally just loses. A Malphite with Warden's Mill is not something you want to mess with as Vi, especially with your only backup being more AD champions.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Vi in this game, we touched a little bit on it in draft, but Vi has to be really careful of, you know, going in for these engages, for these fights, because we saw it in practice right there. Trying to get a little bit of a pick onto Paytime has consequences, because if you go in, you're in there. You don't really have the opportunity to get out until you get a significant amount of cooldown reduction, a significant amount of ability haste. And so he's going to have to be careful because he doesn't have a ton of follow-up in Castile and Outflayed. They are ranged champions who want to hit you from afar, not go in. And that's the exact opposite of what Vi wants to do. So I can see that split in playstyle hurting Pentaflex down the line. But for now, it is going to be them just rotating toward this dragon, picking their second one up of the game.
Yeah, an objective trade across the map. Grubs being picked up by Nocturne and his team, and alternatively, the Ocean Dragon going to be picked up by the side of Pentaflex. I would say they're obviously winning out in this trade. 2 dragons is a massive benefit for your team. The Grubs is not going to be as influential in my opinion, but it is 6 Grubs. It's a massive amount of them for Xora, so it's going to definitely be a case of proving... Oh, Orianna caught in a root. It looks like a catch is available. Sorry, I literally coughed in the middle of that, but Orianna literally got deleted. Really well played, really well managed by the team. Maokai barely clipping her does mean that there's enough follow-up, and that's exactly what we were talking about in draft, right? The pick potential from this team is absolutely wild from across the map.
Yeah, and especially on immobile mages like Orianna, when they don't have flash, they really have to be careful. Paytime didn't even really walk up past, like barely walked up past the tower and got punished for it. So that is the pick hour of this Pentaflex squad, and how dangerous it can be to overstep even in the slightest margins here for this Xora Esports squad. But yeah, for the most part, it is just going to probably be a quieter game for the next couple of minutes. No objectives on the board. Top laners haven't really done much, but slowly it's been Scrubber managing to get around a 20 CS lead over Raincloud. So the Malphite having that defensive item up in time, Frozen Heart acquired, will continue to just be tankier and tankier as this game goes on. More a thorn in the side of Pentaflex.
No pun intended, I'm sure, but yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a thorn in the side for the side of Pentaflex. And this champion is just going to get tankier. It's going to be quite difficult for a Jhin to be able to cut through him. Set, hopefully, with his true damage, will be able to make an impact on that Malphite's health bar, but it will be difficult to fight against him once he finally moves towards those 5v5s. Vindicality going to be very happy to have that beefy front line, and obviously in the lane, this is absolutely miserable to play against. You're getting hit by Malphite Qs, you can't auto-attack because of Frozen Heart. It's just literally so miserable. Samuel, trying to find an engage. Banana Bread tried to engage back. Looks like a stun will come out, but no more follow-up coming up from the side of Pentaflex. A TP in the back.
TP.
Malphite trying to find a way into a 5v5. He kind of just walked away, though. And, guys, Dragon's up in 2 minutes 30. What are we doing?
Yeah, Scrubber with way too hasty of a teleport there, and now won't have it for the next dragon. Ultimate being popped by Eliman, though.
Outplayed, trying his best to outplay, but you can't really outplay a targeted ability. Eliman finds his way to the Jhin, gets that kill secured for his team. And I mean, it's a pick, but that's all it is. I mean, there's no objectives up. Rel actually under fire does manage to live through that Xerath ultimate, but honestly, it's definitely not going to have a massive impact on the game. It's good that we got the Jhin, we got the shutdown, but at the end of the day, objectives are really the name of this game, and 1 minute and 50 seconds till that next Mountain Dragon is spawning. These two teams really need to be posturing for that, and this TP being down from Scrubber is going to have a massive effect on that, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I do want to point out that Vindicality was the one to get that shutdown, or rather that pick on to Outflayed. This is a humongous jinx that we have already seen the capability of Vindicality on this champion, how efficient they are on it, and how deadly they are if they have the right conditions. And getting the Jhin kill is really starting to make those conditions a reality. So if they can, you know, pour more resources into this Jhin. Oh, hang on. Flash of Vindicality.
Yeah, she managed to flash her way out of that one, but Jinx, I mean, burning flash before this dragon, you were talking about how pivotal she is in these fights, right? She got all of the gold on her, and she honestly has gold on her head as well. 700 gold if you can kill, sorry, 600 gold if you can kill this Jinx. A root actually onto Paytime. Might be a payout for the team. It looks like he gets knocked up. He gets CC'd. He can't get his way out of that one. Phoenix barely oh, the Jinx rocket! The snipes just don't stop from Vindicality. Really well played from that. It's from downtown. The Herald will be picked up by the side of Xora as well. And you have to think that a little bit of dragon control is going to come out of that one as well.
Yep, Rift Herald acquired here by Xora Esports, but a turret being taken by Pentaflex. So a little bit of a trade of objectives there, finally allowing Flayed and Semiel to get on the map, make this Maokai and this Jhin more impactful around Summoner's Rift. So we'll have to see how they play that out, but crucially, Dragon coming up in about 10 seconds here. The bot lane of Pentaflex did just reset, so there is an opening for Xora Esports to maybe look to lay down some vision, something that is sorely lacking around this side of the map for both teams. And yeah, but no TP on to Screwbert, and he is just going to be forced to walk his way down here manually without expending that, because he doesn't have it up, right? This is the cost of using that TP so recklessly earlier in the game.
But both teams have curiously decided that this is the time to fight. It looks like Banana Bread is going to be taken very low. A counter engage comes out. Rel finds the knockup on 2, the CC on 2. Phoenix tries to disengage, but he will end up falling in the process. Malphite finds the knockup. Paytime is under threat, trying to get away. Set absolutely taking him to Pound Town. Xerath ult comes in. Really good damage coming out from Xerath. Outplayed, trying to find the kill, won't be able to find enough, but the double kill for the Xerath element is so low. There is no chance that he's able to contest this objective, and it should be a dragon eventually going over. Doesn't look like they're actually going to move towards it just yet. They don't have smite, they don't want to risk it. They're going to try and get the mid turret instead, and an extended warranty on this dragon, as it will be fought a little bit later down the line.
But it looks like Banana Bread maybe looking to go aggressive here. You can see that he is mounted, so he has the movement speed. Wave has been cleared, so yeah, Pentaflex denied from taking this mid lane tower, and now Eliman, full health again, is respawned onto the map. Has the item, the hex, I'm sorry, the experimental hex plate. I was blanking for a little bit. So that does give a lot of power to this Nocturne. Has the upgraded smite as well, so if there is a smite fight to be had, it is almost certainly going to go the way of this Nocturne pick. So that is something that Pentaflex have to keep in mind as the dragon has been started up.
Yep, Samuel will be looking for some sort of entrance into this river, trying to find the front line for his team. Set actually playing rather far back, maybe trying to wait for that Nocturne engage, maybe trying to ult him away from his carries. Yep, there you see the Nocturne engage coming in. A huge engage from Malphite. The flashes are coming out from the carries of Pentaflex. They are taken very low in the backline. Set just 1v2ing the enemy backline. Jinx and Orianna forced to skimper away. Looks like Vi will end up falling. Screwbert just has to flash away. Malphite is actually taking absurd amounts of damage from this Castiel. Paytime nearly falling to just the Maokai. The Jhin should be able to secure the kill. Easy outplay for Outplay. And it's a dragon going over to the side of Pentaflex. Soul point secured for them.
Yeah, Pentaflex get themselves soul point, and it looked pretty good for Xora Esports at the beginning. It looked like they had gotten a pick on to Pentaflex, but their members, you saw how low those health bars were. They were living on a hope and a prayer, and Pentaflex were the ones to answer that prayer and take some of them down. But unfortunately, that dragon not taken. Still, after all of this time, it remains unclaimed. And Xora Esports, they really want this thing. They know they have to deny this soul point.
It's crazy. I mean, this dragon has gotten through 2 team fights and it's still alive. Looks like it'll be picked up in the third exchange. Really well played from Xora to be able to pick that one up. I guess, to be fair, Pentaflex have been on the map for so long. I think it's a very smart play to not overextend in that position.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you won the fight. You still have 2 dragons to your name. I don't think 1 dragon being taken by the enemy team is really going to deny your ability to get the soul. It only denies it by 5 minutes. Your team still scales plenty hard toward that late game. But yeah, Xora Esports trying to bite back, trying to find what they can in this game. Banana Bread might have stepped up, though.
He did step up, but it looks like he will be able to step off as well. And able to get his way out of that one, but really risky maneuvers from this Rel support, trying to get any vision she can, but the line of scrimmage has definitely been drawn in the sand, and Pentaflex are running the map at the moment. They should be able to get this mid turret. Yeah, Jin auto attack secures that one, and yeah, I mean, the ball is in Pentaflex's court. It is so in their favor at the moment. Phoenix. Just in enemy jungle, able to walk away as well. No punishment coming out from the enemy team. And that just goes to show just how much pressure they have on this map at the moment. And it comes from global abilities, global ultimates from Xerath, from Jin, and even Maokai, right? You're able to back up your team from so far away. The set STP, right? Malphite doesn't quite. So it's just so much pressure being exuded from this Pentaflex squad, not to mention the fact that they're already in the lead.
Yeah, and I kind of want to go back to that Malphite TP. Ever since we saw the Malphite go for that, a little bit of over... Oh, hang on. Nope. Hold that thought.
Yep. Xerath has Zonias available, so he's not quite under the danger that people may think he is. Element does end up falling. The Jinx Rocket doesn't secure the kill on the Guardian. Paytime doesn't have enough damage just quite yet. A really good Q coming out from Phoenix. Rel might have to secure it. No, Orianna getting some picking it up. 900 gold over to Paytime. Paytime will end up falling. Double kill for the Vi. Rel might just get caught in the crossfire. Banana Bread has nowhere to run. He's going to be cooked in the oven, and it will be outplayed, picking up another kill for his team. Top turret not going to be quite under threat. Baron can't be picked up. I mean, we have a Vi and a Jin. We definitely don't do enough damage to that thing, but another objective, another kill going the side of Pentaflex.
Yeah, major credit to Castile there for his ability to survive, the initial engage from Xora Esports. It took so much out of them. 2 ultimates, and he still didn't die right away. A beautiful Zhonya's coming out there, and it just gives the members of Pentaflex time to re-engage the fight. Phoenix enough time to just wail on the members of Xora Esports in that exchange, and they come out on top. They take a turret for their efforts, and they are looking good here in Game 3 with about a 2k gold lead and 2 dragons to their name.
2 dragons to their name and 2 more minutes till the next one is spawning. I'm curious if they're actually going to be in the river before it spawns this time, or if they're just going to wait and then fight 2 fights again. I really don't understand the macro of this game. These 2 teams are just so close in skill and so close in just like the game state that they're in this third game. Sorry, it's really surprising considering how one-sided a lot of the fights were in the first 2 games. Despite obviously both teams winning, they were relatively one-sided in a lot of those fights. But this game has been so back and forth, so blow for blow. I mean, I honestly could not tell you what's going to happen in the fight.
I mean, Xora Esports are slightly behind, as you can see, in the gold lead, and it feels like Pentaflex have been more cohesive in a lot of these fights. They've been able to survive a lot of the team fight barrage that Xora have been going for, right? You have the Nocturne, you have the Malphite, but I feel like Scroober in particular has not really been performing on this Malphite. It feels like a lot of those Unstoppable Force ultimates have been missing, only hitting 1 target. We haven't quite gotten a 2, 3, 4-man ultimate from the Malphite. I think that's really what Xora need in order to win some of these fights, because the return damage that Pentaflex are able to accrue out with this Jin, with this Vi now, is really high. So they have to make that first initial engage count, or else Pentaflex are going to come right back around and smack them just as hard.
Yeah, and I mean, Xora has the ability, right? Viniculity is doing so much damage. She just needs the facilitation. Jinx just needs a good enough front line and a good enough engage that she's able to do what she wants to do. But these team fights have really not been working out for her. And you can even see the poke right now. Outplayed, looking for something. There's so much damage coming down, so much artillery.
Phoenix is
Element
here.
is taken down. Phoenix finds the ultimate onto Viniculity. He can't quite get over the wall. The Q knocks him back, and it's a kill onto the Jinx, a shutdown onto the Xerath. And this dragon is spawning in only 10 seconds time. Surely this one is going to get picked up by Pentaflex.
Huge pickup there by Pentaflex. They managed to find the AD carry, and now the dragon has spawned. We said it before, Drake, but one dragon will not stop the soul point train that Pentaflex have been riding this entire game 3. They're going to pick that one up, and now Xora Esports, all of them are in the mid lane, but they're not going to be able to get anything really. And, you know, Pentaflex, they are 5 members strong. They could potentially just look for a re-engage if they want to.
Yeah, there you go. They're engaging on a Malphite. Not necessarily the one that you always want to engage onto. Yeah, I mean, there's no damage that you can do to this Malphite, but you got the Nocturne ultimate, and it is a short cooldown, but a lot of pressure relieved from the map because that's gone.
Yeah, for sure. No paranoia means that, you know, another member of Xora Esports isn't going to go for that engage that they're really hoping to pull off in one of these fights. So it just delays that, right? It delays their game plan, and it allows Pentaflex to play around the map a little bit more, try and extend that vision line, because the only objective up now, the big thing in the eyes for both teams, is that Baron Nashor. And Pentaflex, I think really if they just get one pick onto a key member of Xora Esports, they can very easily just pivot right toward that objective, try to take it, and really force Xora Esports' hands into a bad situation.
Yeah, and we've seen the pick potential of their team comp time and time again in this game, right? They can literally pick you from across the map. If Maokai E lands and you have a Jin W, here you almost saw it again, and then you have Xerath ultimate to follow up. There's so much follow-up damage from across the map for this team, for this composition that Pentaflex have drafted themselves. And Xora suffering a little bit for that wombo combo, for that 5v5 draft. You can see the disengage again coming out. Nocturne in the backline, but the Xerath has Zhonya's. You can't engage. Set in the 1v4ing on the opposite side of the map. Does get the flash away. Malphite ults on to Screwbert. Sorry, Rainclouds isn't quite dead. He does end up falling. Jinx is excited. Samuel P taken low, getting slowly lower. Phoenix trying to play the front line. Does disengage slightly. Xerath just being a massive artillery cannon in the back line. Jinx is CC'd. There's no more follow-up. Malphite can't quite kill the Maokai. The Maokai does end up dying. And oh, Castiel getting one off the back of it. It's so back and forth. It's so on the edge. But it another pick from outlane. I can't stop, and somebody else will die if I try and stop speaking again. Xora did come out on top for a second there, but Pentaflex not ever backing down in this fight.
Yep, and Pentaflex managed to punch back after Xora initially started the fight. It felt like a really scrappy fight from both teams. You could see that Eliman in that backline trying to burst down. Castiel pulled all the attention from Pentaflex, but then Rainclouds was in the backline of Xora, and suddenly you're forcing this team to just go back and forth, really confused this blue side squad, I think. And although they initially lost it, they managed to pick off some after some impressive sniping from Blade. Really feel like he was the savior of that fight, because this was really going Xora's way. And now we are still about 2 minutes away from Seoul. Both teams should really be establishing vision around this area, making sure that there are no surprises as to who and where everyone is. And that starts, I think, by, you know, having your supports roam down. They are the vision bots for both teams. I really want to see Samael on this bot side with saplings. This is such a good tool in order to establish vision around a choke point.
Yeah, 100% is, right? It's free vision. It literally is unremovable unless you take the damage accompanied by it. So it is a very, very annoying ability to have in your arsenal, so you should be using it to its fullest extent. Rainclouds doesn't have TP up, and so Malphite is able to keep set in that top side. Perhaps it will be a reason that Xora are able to fight this dragon, but obviously there is a bigger objective on the map as well. So if Pentaflex choose, they can put pressure around that dragon, move towards that Baron, and if the enemy team doesn't go towards the dragon, then they will obviously lose soul. So it's a very hard position to put the enemy team in. Viniculity getting taken to 0 HP.
Holy moly.
A huge engage coming out from Bai. The ult comes out from Jin, and it is a free kill for the side of Pentaflex. Surely this does translate into another objective.
Yeah, Vindicility getting the Season 14 ADC treatment right there. Sniped from across the map and locked down by Phoenix. A lot of ultimates namely expended by Pentaflex here. So there is a chance that Xora Esports will look for something.
Yeah, Phoenix is looking on to Banana Bread. Screwbird doesn't take damage. A good disengage coming out from Maokai. Roots does mean that Nocturne can't look for anything further. A lot of ultimates extended though, you know, and this is going to make it a very dicey fight. Vindicality doesn't have TP obviously, but will be respawning very, very shortly. He can actually make it to the dragon fight. Vi looking for something, doesn't have the ultimate available. Malphite is so massive, he doesn't take damage. Jinx is moving in, and this fight is a full-on scrap. It's a 5v5. I'm unsure of which team actually wins. Malphite does have the ultimate available with the shockwave. I feel like this is slightly Xora favored.
Yeah, I mean, Xora, they have the chance to try and go for an engage here, but it's already Pentaflex who are on the dragon. They are taking it. They are chipping at it. Xora, if they want to contest, they have to go in now, but they don't have the tools to do so.
Mountain Soul over to Pentaflex, but there is still a fight here. A triple knockup, a triple shockwave, and it looks like 3 members are also going to die for the side of Pentaflex.
Shut down.
2 members alive, Jin and Xerath. They can't do much, and it looks like Xora are going to be able to secure the Baron off the back of a massive, massive shockwave from Paytime.
And after nearly 31 minutes, Xora Esports, they get the wombo combo they have been trying to for the entire game. They waited it out, and it came in at the most clutch time, and with that, they will be able to get to the Baron. Maybe not, though, as if we have an ultimate coming out from Blade. This does so much damage, but it will be secured by Ellie-Man. And Xora Esports, they managed to win the fight, get to the Baron, but now they have to deal with a Mountain Dragon Soul that Pentaflex picked up for themselves.
Yeah, and they're obviously on the back foot trying to get away from this Xerath poke, which is absolutely terrible to deal with. Obviously, you have a full armor Malphite. You do still take damage from this Xerath. Castiel is a freaking a freaking bastion for the side of Pentaflex, and he's honestly the only saving grace for their squad. They need to be able to keep him alive in these team fights, because if they do, he is going to absolutely demolish the backline of Xora.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to be really, really careful about letting this set into the backline. I think that if he gets a good ultimate off, it hits Vindicality and Paytime, it's just completely over. We're at a point in this game, you know, set 2 items, 0-4, but it doesn't even matter at this point. 1 haymaker to the face, and those members are either dead or so far down in health that they are probably just out of the fight. Speaking of out of the fight, Banana Bread maybe picked off here. We'll just go away.
Yeah, it does look like he just leaves the situation. Nocturnal once again expended just for the safety of his team. It doesn't look like much is going to happen. Obviously, you have 3 minutes and 50 seconds till this Elder Dragon is spawning, so you have a lot of time to kill. It is just going to be a case of using the waves, trying to maybe get a couple of turrets secured, but the side of Xora don't actually have the shoving waves, so it's a very rough position for them to be in, but they are in control of this game at the moment. They finally stabilized, they finally gotten into a position where they could actually win these team fights, and the next one likely will determine the game, considering the Elder Dragon is an end of game buff.
But it really feels like every time Xora managed to win a fight, they get a pick onto Vindicality, they get a pick onto Paytime, they deal damage to Banana Bread. It seems like every single time it is Outflayed who manages to get these miracle picks back with beautiful sniping on the Jin. And yeah, we're going to see it right here. Banana Bread picked off.
Not quite yet, but Jin does have the ultimate available. He just doesn't quite want to use it. He actually isn't able to find the follow-up. The flash away from his Nocturne ultimate. The fear actually lands onto the Maokai. Maokai isn't quite dead, though. The backline is accosted by the Malphite. Nocturne in the back as well. Jinx gets a kill to boot. It's 3 kills onto the side of Pentaflex, and only 2 members alive to defend the base. Will they be able to do it?
They
5
have the
members
buff.
bearing down on the base of... Oh my gosh. Is Xora going to end it just like that?
They could look for it. They have Jinx, they have the Get Excited. This is such a good tool for taking down objectives. They have a huge minion wave, and it looks like Pentaflex, they're completely
Set into the back line. Rain Clouds finds the damage. The Q isn't quite enough. He can't get the last auto attack. Xerath in the back line trying to snipe, but he's cut off. Nocturne, once again, a bastion of safety for his backline, using ultimate to get that Xerath away, and Xora are gonna secure the 3rd game of this series. They're gonna secure a 2-1 over Pentaflex. an absolutely insane series to start off this season of Risen Dominate.
Yeah, Xora, what a back and forth game, but it is Xora managing to take the series. And Drake, I gotta tell you, if this is the energy that we get every single week of Dominate League, this is going to be the most exciting season ever. Every team is going to look competitive as these teams did. And Pentaflex, they fall. They do not get the series win, but they looked so good here. And credit to Outflayed, a beautiful Jhin performance. But it was the Wombo combo that ended up winning Xora the game. They stuck to their game plan. And after 30 minutes, they managed to get it to work. And just a couple of fights later, they managed to take the game. So credit to them for sticking with it through the entire thing, through all of the trials and tribulations that Pentaflex threw at them. And yeah, looking great so far in Dominate. I'm super excited to see where the season takes us.
Yeah, this has been an absolutely insane series. I was not emotionally or mentally prepared for such a crazy series when I walked in today. Like when I woke up from my nap and I was like, "All right, guys, it's already 12 p.m. because I live in EU." I was not expecting such an absolute banger. My roommates are probably gonna kill me later, but really, really well played from both of these two teams. Xora had me pumping my fists. Xora had the chat pumping their fists. I mean, it's so Xora one-sided. I'm sorry for Pentaflex. You guys played very, very well as well. And yeah, like you said, such a contentious series, so well played from both of these teams. I am so happy with what I've seen today.
Yeah, absolutely. Major credit to both orgs and to all of the players involved. But yeah, I'm not sure what else there is to say, Drake. Is there any like closing statements, any last hurrahs to a player or a team that you want to give? Any words of wisdom, or complaints about how late it is in EU? Because now is your time to get them out before we disappear for the week and allow everyone to root for the Chiefs, root for the 49ers, whoever you choose to support. Get wasted, get drunk, have fun, eat a lot of nachos, and just have a great night. Is there anything else you got to say before they do that, Drake? Because I'm sure they're itching to do so.
No. I honestly agree with you. They are ready to go. The Super Bowl's on, guys. Let's go enjoy it. Obviously, I'll be watching on a weird time zone, but is what it is. Yeah, I definitely had a good time tonight. You guys enjoy your Super Bowl. Xora really, really well played once again, and yeah, just thank you guys for such an amazing series, and hope you guys all enjoyed it. I think we're just about ready to head out. Quacks, you good? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you
All
everyone
right, cool.
so much for watching. Have a great night. Enjoy the Super Bowl. We'll see you all next week for more Risen Dominate League. Until then, I have been Quacks. That has been Drake. Have a great night.